You better be listening to Sleazoids or I must break you.
Before they started laying people off, they was paying folks $15 an hour at that place.
That's good money.
$15 an hour, I'll be old. What I gotta do, sir?
I wish we could just walk out of here. Hey, Johnny, I didn't know you had an account here.
We're gonna have to let you go. The fact that you knew the perpetrator doesn't sit well with us.
My name's COFFY. I know what you want to, and you're gonna get it. This is the end of your rotten life, you dope pusher.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Sleazoids, podcast where we go down the rabbit hole of 20th century genre fare from the most influential canon classics to the trashiest exploitation films we can get our hands on and invite you to tag along in helping us create a canon of sleaze. Each week is a double feature grindhouse style where we discuss two films loosely related by subject, genre, actor, filmmaker, or franchise, and at the end of each episode along with our honorary Sleazoids, which you can become by subscribing on Patreon.
Next week, we're doing our patron-voted episode, so if you want some of that sweet, sweet power, join the sleaze.
That's right. We also decide on all the official ratings and rankings for every film that we cover. And Patreon subscribers also get an on-air shout-out and 2 bonus episodes every single month, which I don't know how many years, 7, 8 years we've been doing this. There's 200, I believe, plus bonus episodes now, as well as our bonus transmission series where we talk about new release genre films all year long, which there's over 60 of at this point. So if you haven't made the jump yet, patreon.com/sleazoids podcast. And speaking of which, we had a lot of people make the jump. October, November is always pretty big for us. You guys love the Spooktober. You love the Noirvember.
Yeah.
But signing up this month, we had Andrew Errol sign up. We had Steve Blank actually sign up at the $10 a month tier, joining us for the monthly virtual screening, which we try to do on the last Thursday of any given month. We will definitely be doing a noir themed one this month. We had Jakey Thomas sign up actually at the annual tier, because you can get a little bit of a monthly discounted rate if you get an entire year of the show in advance. So thanks to Jakey. We had Sylvie sign up, Joshua Hughes, Edebeo. We had Matt Hunter, Nils Hoothouse. We had Ben T. We had Jason Koski. We had Roscoe, Ali Mook, Jonathan Ben, Andrea, Joshua Stein, PP O'Connell, Tommy, Brian Black, who actually signed up for a year as well, Brian Davis at $5, Nate Chartier, Dwayne The Rock Hudson, sick name, at the annual tier. Thank you so much. Truth in the Age of Lies, 2 McDoubles, Laurel CR, Meet Seb, Dave, JJ Henderson, and last but not least, Blake White. So thanks so much to all of you folks. We appreciate that support. I hope you're enjoying all those bonus episodes.
Yeah, thank you very much, everybody.
That's the one plug for the week. The other plug, as always, is Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If you're listening on either one of those platforms, and I can see the stats, I can see you right now listening on both those platforms, give us a good old rating and review over there. It helps us climb the ranks and find new listeners. And the last plug, as always, is merch. Once again, we are here with the, I guess we can't really call it new merch anymore. We've been selling it for a few months now, but we have a awesome shirt designed by Brandon Lim of Black Belt Cinema, who's an incredible graphic designer. He did a blowout themed Sleazoid shirt for us with some of our favorite 80s movies, as well as some of our favorite guests who have ever been on the show. It's like a movie poster. We also have a Sleazoids dad cap now.
Yes.
If you're interested in either of those things, the link is in the description of this episode, as well as over at sleazoidspodcast.com. And I do believe actually that the tariff situation should have been mostly wrapped up in the United States. So if you are a United States patron who wanted to buy some merch and the site was briefly shut down and you couldn't, now you should be able to. So
awesome.
Go and check it out. But that is it for the intro. Welcome back to the week. As always, I'm your host, Josh Lewis, and joining me also, as always, my co-host,
Jamie Miller. Welcome back, everybody.
Welcome. I believe 2 weeks ago would have been the last time you folks over here on the main feed would have heard from us, where we would have been kicking off the Noirvember season with special guest author Megan Abbott, who wanted to bring on 2 of her favorite dreamlike, expressionist, nihilistic 1940s B-noir films. We talked about Edgar G. Ulmer's very dirty and depressed and very intensely psychologically subjective hitchhiking noir called Detour from 1945, and we paired it with Mark Robson's and Val Lewton's very bleak, satanic, kind of gothic horror conspiracy mystery noir called The Seventh Victim from 1943, which, if you're familiar with films like Cat People, is kind of in a similar realm to that. But just imagine a sort of proto-Rosemary's Baby.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was kind of an unbelievably dark episode. I mean, even for noir, it seemed more tragic than usual. Detour, I love the unreliable narrative, and just both the films kind of benefited from being it cut up in a way where it kind of feels a little bit more dreamlike, and it really works with the story.
Yeah, one of the rare moments where you have low budget films that are just kind of hacked to pieces a little bit, but in a very atmospheric and kind of dreamy way that definitely works for the movie. So if you haven't heard that episode, again, that was 2 weeks ago over on the main feed. But then last week for you guys over on the Patreon, we decided it was time. We wanted to talk about Robert Mitchum, one of the longest faces, one of the saddest, weariest eyes that Hollywood ever found. And we wanted to talk about two different eras of his career, his sort of breakout leading man performance in Jacques Turner's classic tragic film noir Out of the Past from 1947, which is incredible, and he has a fantastic back and forth with Kirk Douglas and Jane Greer in that film as well. And then we all jumped ahead to the 1970s, where we wanted to talk about Peter Yates's blunt, unglamorous Boston bank robbing neo-noir film The Friends of Eddie Coyle from 1973, which is arguably one of, if not Robert Mitchum's best performance.
Oh, definitely. And seeing him go from like confident to the kind of weary, still wise, but now desperate. So it kind of makes him make, some bad decisions.
And Out of the Past, he's cool and suave and tough. And in Friends of Eddie Coyle, you're like, this is a guy who should be retired and hanging out with his grandkids. And here he is still doing this ugly grunt work. Yeah,
still meeting up for guns with 20-year-olds. So yeah, it's both films unbelievable. It was really nice to finally see Eddie Coyle, because it was just 5 out of 5, just a masterpiece. I loved it from start to finish.
Yeah, I'm still thinking about Robert Mitchum cheering on Bobby Orr and drinking his beer and being like, what a future that kid's got,
So sad, too, in the context of the movie. That almost sounds like a fun scene, but it's not.
It does, but the actual, the mood of it is like when you watch The Irishman. You're like, oh, God.
Yep.
So if you haven't heard that episode, again, that was last week over on the Patreon. Go back and check that out if you're interested. But moving on to this week, however, we are once again joined by a very special returning guest making his 4th appearance on the show. He is a writer for ESPN and Rolling Stone, Vanity Fair, New York Times, GQ, and many others, including his own Substack now. He writes about culture, sports, fashion, music, and sometimes occasionally he goes film bro mode with us. That guest is Jayson Buford. Jayson, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. It's always great to hang out with you guys, man. Really, really great.
Yeah,
dude, it was so nice to finally meet you in person too. This year when you rolled out to Hamilton and Toronto to profile Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and I was like, I was like, he's so busy doing cool ESPN writer shit. And he's like, there's no way he's gonna have time. And he's like, no, I'm Ubering to you right now at midnight.
No, well, so honestly, like that hasn't come out yet. We actually don't know quite yet. We don't. No, it's all good. But we don't know if like we're gonna be doing just him or if we're gonna be doing someone else with him. So there's
cool.
Yeah. That's still up in the air.
I can't wait to read it.
Dude, of course I was going to come see you. Come on, man. Yeah. The Saint? Yeah.
The Saint? We in person squashed any Blue Jays, New York Yankees beef. It doesn't exist. It's not out there. If these two guys can make it work, that's right.
Yeah.
Aaron Judge and Vladdy will be hanging out at some point. We'll make it work.
Yeah. Well, they were like talking on first base like every single time Judge got.
They were
talking about their previous home runs.
Yeah, just like chatting.
Yeah, but Jayson, we're so stoked to have you on again. You always bring a pretty fire double feature almost every single time we ask you, no matter what the genre is. Sometimes you're like, I want to talk about like these like courtroom films, or you want to talk, it doesn't matter what you want to talk about, or if you want to talk about, what was it, Face Off and Con Air, I think was the last time we talked to you. That was a crazy episode. Still one of our favorites, I think, that we've done. So we knew we had to have you back. But what two films have you brought with you this week, and why did you pair these two together?
I have Coffee and I have Set It Off. Two films about systemic injustices in ghetto communities and Black communities. Both take place in Los Angeles. Two movies that pair like famous Black actresses. Pam Grier and Coffee. Everybody knows Pam. Quentin Tarantino's favorite actress. is Pam Grier. She's just a phenomenal actress. One of the
She's
sexiest
otherworldly, especially in Coffee.
Yeah. Also, just like the sexiest woman to ever be in Grace's screen ever, like ever, like literally ever. So she's great. And so I that she's in Coffee, and then Set It Off has Jada Pinkett-Smith, Queen Latifah, Vivica A, Kimberly Elise. So that is a whole quadruple of just great Black actresses. And I think Queen Latifah in A Just World, I mean, we'll talk about it, but in A Just World, that's the Best Supporting Actress award winner.
She's so good in Set It Off. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So, I think both of these performances are unheralded in canon. And they're both kind of movies about people who are going through a certain kind of change in their communities in terms of, injustices, drugs, misogyny in general, right? That there's a lot of talk about misogyny against Black women in both of these films. And they're
what really stood out to me about these two was that obviously, we loved the idea when you pitched it of like sort of Black female led sort of like neo-noir crime action thrillers, two different eras of it. But what really stood out to me was that both films really address these very serious socio-political sort of realities facing these Black women characters, poverty and drugs and corruption and police brutality. But both are also incredibly just well-made, entertaining genre products of their era. Like Coffee is like a standout like grindhouse revenge action film. It's just a fantastic example of the genre, even if you didn't have the depth of it and the lead performance of it. And for Set It Off, it's a fantastic 90s heist film with incredible like LA location work, and it's cool to give these sort of these women characters the kind of man of action outlaw, becoming a vigilante murderer, becoming a bank robber. It's usually sort of a macho, genre, and both of these kind of flip that.
Yeah, and the depth of the characters in both these films is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like even when they're not, just toting guns and having a blast, it like there is a ton of just rich character work in this, that especially with, I mean, Coffee has it in spades, but Set It Off, honestly, the majority of the film is really the character work, and then you get a few of those exciting heist scenes, but I just found myself so just sitting in it so well throughout the story.
Yeah, when you're just hanging out with those women smoking weed, blasting songs around LA, you're having a good time.
Yeah. So
and then you're suddenly sad and you're like, oh, they can't do that anymore.
Also, we'll say that Set It Off is also incredibly devastating. So we'll get to that.
I was texting Josh. I was like, I forgot how devastating the movie is. Like, it's a really fucking sad film.
Yeah,
I know. It was so funny. I hadn't even seen it that long ago, but I saw it in the theater for the first time only like 2 or 3 years ago, and I remembered all the fun stuff, and I got to like the final stretch of it, and I was like, man, they're ripping my heart out all over again.
Yeah. And we'll get to it, of course, but like even as the tone goes on, I think within the first 20 minutes, I was kind of saying to myself, oh no, like it's setting itself up to be like there is this fun attitude about them, but it is still setting itself up to be one of these fatalistic films that it's just like no matter how good of people they are, they're kind of doomed from the beginning. And it's going to be a wild ride today.
But I'm excited to get into it here. So let's kick things off. Let's start with Coffee.
You really mean that?
All your friends are dead. Well, I killed them all.
All right, we are talking Coffee, the 1973 blaxploitation neo-noir action thriller written and directed by Jack Hill and starring Pam Grier as, quote, the baddest one-chick hit squad that ever hit town, end quote.
Hell yeah.
An ER nurse named Coffee who decides to take vigilante justice and sort of vengeance against an entire network of drug dealers, pimps, and gangsters that got her younger sister addicted to heroin. This is our second time talking about the legendary American exploitation movie writer and director Jack Hill, and actually the first time, Jason, since literally episode 1 of the show.
That's true.
So you picked the first Jack Hill movie since episode 1 of the show,
wow,
7 or 8 years ago. It is kind of crazy, where we talked about his 1967 inbred cannibal family film Spider Baby, because we paired it with Hills Have Eyes from 1977. So that's the last time we talked about Jack Hill. For anyone unfamiliar, he is a incredibly well-known 60s and 70s exploitation movie director, known for his work at AIP for American International Pictures under Roger Corman, where he and his UCLA film school classmate and best friend Francis Ford Coppola were both getting into the company at the same time. His father, also Roland Hill, I guess, was a set designer in like the 20s and 30s, so he kind of grew up around the film industry. Tarantino famously called Jack Hill the Howard Hawks of exploitation filmmaking.
He did make a lot of stars happen. I mean...
He did, and he was also just kind of like a classical workman. I think that's kind of what he means by that. Like, he was someone who saw movie making, and I found a fantastic interview with him where he was even talking about this film, and he didn't even love people kind of calling it a grindhouse movie, because he was like, even though it, often did play in actual grindhouses, he just didn't see that as like the kind of movies he made. He was just like, I don't know, in the 1940s, a guy made a cheap noir movie, and it's called Casablanca now, or, it's like, it wasn't a grindhouse movie because he didn't have very much money. That's the kind of attitude he had about making this kind of stuff, even though this is a man who is a pioneering name in literally the women in prison exploitation subgenre film, including films like The Big Dollhouse and like the Switchblade Sisters and stuff.
That's the thing. He does seem to have something about like violence and perversity a little bit. So that would probably make it so that it would have to go into these kind of more grindhouse theaters and everything. But I mean, we have nothing but respect for this kind of stuff on the show.
I mean, I love a dude who looks at like old Hollywood filmmakers and is like, I'm a classy filmmaker, and then puts a shot like a dude's head getting exploded and spaghetti shooting out the back of it in the first like 5 minutes of his movie. Exactly.
Yeah, I love it. And again, like that's kind of the beauty of Coffee too, is that it has all of those moments that are kind of just very rough around the edges, but then the work within Pam Grier's character, Coffee, is just so good, and the look within how all of these things are affecting the community. It's just like there's so much care in it, as well as shotgun squibs and head explosions. So it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think when the movie first opens, it's kind of like a cold opening, if you will, into Pam Grier just like taking control of like the situation. Just like,
I love that she's already doing it. She's already doing like her plan right away. Gets right down to business. There's like the camera gliding around this like 70s LA nightclub. There's a funky score going. You're right away. There's a drug pusher named Sugar Man. There's a driver named Grover, and he's barging in to pull him away from his table. And he's like, dude, I have picked up this like strung out prostitute. She will do anything with you in the back of your car right now if you go do there. And at first he's a little bit angry about it. Then he gets in there and he sees it's Pam Grier. And it's Pam Grier, and he's just instantly he's like, I'm not mad anymore. It's Pam Grier, which is because it's one of those things where like the movie is so based around that it's hard to like. Yeah, it's hard to believe they wrote it. It feels like they wrote it for her, because if it's another actress, I don't know that it works in the same way. But literally, the shot is like this low angle shot looking into the car, Pam Grier staring at you. It's her first like leading role movie star kind of shot. And Jack Hill just seemed to know that was. I mean, I guess he had used her in the Women in Prison films. He had used her on like The Big Dollhouse and stuff like that. And when Roger Corman said to him, we're going to be making a movie that's going to sort of compete with Cleopatra Jones, because I guess someone at the studio at AIP had lost the rights to that in some sort of thing. And they were so mad. They were like, we want our own sort of like black female-led revenge film. And Jack Hill was the one who said that Roger Corman just said, I want a girl who her attitude will just be on screen instantly. And he was like, he literally plucked her out of like I think she had just moved to LA, and she was like operating like the switchboards at the company or something. And Jack Hill, that's where he found her. And he was basically just like, she had something that was like in your face about her, a natural just beauty and presence and confidence. And they said, this could be a viable option for a sort of leading action star. And bam, all of a sudden you had someone who could compete with, I don't know, I'm trying to think, like Yaphet Kotto in like 110th Street and or Fred Williamson in like Black Caesar. Like Pam Grier immediately just had that presence to her. And it's just so funny that how often it has an effect on the characters.
Yeah. I love the fact that it's almost like she's kind of almost doing a superhero thing where it's not necessarily a secret identity, but it is in a sense because she's going to the underground where people wouldn't know her from her nursing job, I guess, necessarily, but she is putting on
and she got the Superman double life thing going on.
Yeah, and she is putting on this show, and what's really like kind of gross about just what these people that she has to deal with, like these dealers, and is like the gross dialogue that they have, like when he says like, you can have the leftovers, and then there's the other guy who says like, I'll just get high and watch. She knows that she's putting herself in incredibly dangerous situations, but that also, when it comes time for her to defend herself or take her revenge, it just makes it that much more of a powerful statement that she's also willing to like put herself there and then act and does it with such a...
Well, she makes herself so vulnerable right? Like vulnerable, right? Where she like poses that she's going through withdrawals and she's an addict, and obviously we'll get to it, but she puts on a million different outfits in this movie, and every single one of them is incredibly tight, and I guess the nice way of saying it is it's asset revealing. That's how the characters refer to it as, is that she's going to help out when she gets into the section with King George. They keep being like, this, you know, she's got some assets that are going to help us around here, and in this case, you know, she like puts herself in a position where she's clearly going to be attacked by these men, or she's going to be assaulted by these men. And the second she gets an opportunity where their backs are turned or the lights are off, in the case of the first scene, it's just she makes the turn, and the turn in her performance is really like the thing that you're in awe of. I think like the way that she goes frequently, like in this movie, between being sort of like a weary and depressed sort of protective sister character, or this very angry and politically righteous kind of fighter, or in the case with some of these men, this like sadistic, like femme fatale manipulator. She almost kind of enjoys being, you know, like getting revenge against these men. She'll sometimes do it in just a scene, and she'll flip that switch, and in the movie you go, damn. You know, like when she whips that shotgun out and Jack Hill takes that source of light and just puts it only on her eyes as she's holding the shotgun directly at the guy's head. And she's just like, this is the end of your rotten life, you motherfucker.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then to add like to also add like some power and fear to the second guy, because it happens so quick with the bigger dealer, because she knows she just has to get it done. And then with the other guy, he starts to
and she explodes his head like a watermelon, to be clear, too.
It's a full shot, full explosion. It is detailed. And not only that, what's interesting is that later on too, they kind of have like flashbacks of that happening. And like where she's dealing with some of the things that she has seen.
I mean, it's pretty grotesque and kind of traumatizing image.
Of course. So it's like even the things that she's doing to, you know, get kind of revenge and feel like she's helping her community in some way, it is deeply affecting her as well. So I did like that they include that. Just to give her, again, just even more depth of character. And I also love her theme that they do before this shotgun shot, that it's just like this POV of the car going through the city, and the smooth coffee theme is just very, very good.
I mean, you see where Quentin got some of his stuff in Jackie Brown from, in terms of like the jazz infused, I said jazz, like kind of like funk infused kind of like song, and the credits are it's unbelievable, really great work.
Yeah, it's so smooth.
Yeah, it's incredibly smooth.
It got stuck in my head. The coffee is the color. And I was like, it's so good.
Oh, definitely.
It's also just like, she's so fucking hot. You know, like none of this movie works. If none of this movie works unless if she isn't as hot as she is. You know, like,
it's hard to overstate. We're gonna say it a lot. I feel we're
gonna say it a lot because it's hard to imagine all these gangsters, these mob guys that we'll talk about soon too. You know, even her politician boyfriend kind of like taking this girl along for the ride if she isn't as hot as she is. You know what I mean? Like, they all just think like, oh, I'm just gonna get my dick wet. But it's like, this woman's actually coming here to kill you.
Yeah, and her knowing it too, like the confidence that she has to go into this and being like, I know I am going to be the hottest girl that they have, and that's going to be part of my plan in order to get into certain locations and with certain people. And it also obviously just shines in her performance because she does have such a confidence throughout. Even like when they start to do stuff like when, you know, she's hooking up with King George and she's making the other girls jealous, and you get both like her confidence when she's speaking, but then I think it says like she was actually a martial artist as well, like did some stunts. And so there are scenes where she's like fighting the girls and they're actually throwing each other into tables and kind of going pretty wild and doing
the cat fight
cool
sequence is insane.
It's insane.
Yeah.
So the way you shoot it is really interesting because the cutting is like really atypical. Like the cutting's very weird. You know what I mean? Like she's on. There's at one point, you know, Pam is kicking another girl's ass, and there's another girl who's on the floor, and they cut to kind of like Pam in a weird way. Like this, like it's so janky that I think it actually kind of works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
know, and,
it is kind of like there is kind of an awkwardness in its pacing that makes also the fight seem a little bit more unhinged in a way and more chaotic. So when you have the shots of the people at the party looking at it, I think you kind of get that sense of like, this is just so out of the ordinary or something like that.
That's kind of what I love about this era of like 70s action film too, is that you do have like just that rawness and that chaos and that jankiness. And every once in a while you're gonna see people will kind of talk about some of the jankiness also in sort of like the sort of genre and the storytelling and how that related to also character work and stuff too, because sometimes the guys just didn't end up paying that much attention to it. But it did lead to these moments where like they were shooting like this has an awesome like gritty 70s look to it. It has some really nasty exploitation movie violence and acting to it, especially I love 70s dummy shit. Yes. I love, we'll talk about Sid Haig's like gushing red paint jugular at one point. There's lots of shotgun shots like directly to the chest and crazy squibs, and like Jack Hill does I think a really good job of bringing just some of that grimy but still kind of muscular shooting style around LA, and it does help sell the danger of the situations that she finds herself in this power structure, even if sometimes they use a bit of like a cartoonish shorthand to kind of get you to it, like some of these guys in terms of how cartoonishly gangster they are, I guess you could say, is something that becomes, it was a kind of a staple of the blaxploitation genre, right? Like this was definitely, frequently anyway, it was a lot of white producers exploiting stories about sort of black characters for black audiences and sort of money, and they kind of perpetuated these cartoonish stereotypes at times, especially regarding sort of poverty and crime. But it was also the first time that many of these sort of black creatives and actors and directors got the chance to make these low budget films and actually have some creative control over their own stories. And this does feel like an example of Jack Hill recognizing something in Pam Grier and being like, Pam Grier, take this where you want to go with it, because this character as written I think could have been a lot more, I don't know if I wouldn't use the term offensive, but I think it could have been a lot, it wouldn't have been as nuanced without what Pam is doing, because when she gets emotionally heartbroken in this movie you feel for her, and when she turns on the performance of being like, I'm going to manipulate these people and I'm going to get tough and I'm going to abuse these people back and I'm going to fight these guys, that catharsis I think is felt because of her performance. And then you just get accentuated by that macho shooting style being applied to her action, and it's just it's such a good mix.
Oh my god, it's perfect. Like that juxtaposition is so interesting. It actually led me to think about, and we'll get, there's going to be aspects of Set It Off that remind me of this too. It actually makes me think about Perfidia and One Battle After Another, right? Like that's the type of stuff it makes me think about, in terms of regurgitating these ideas of what it's like to flip the image of the black woman in cinema, right? Like what's that doing? And also like the damage that still does to the characters. You know what I mean? Like, it's not as if Coffee is just like, nothing ever happens to her. Like that's not the case, right? Like there's things that happen to her as well. For example, when the friend of hers, the police officer friend of hers, gets murdered, she's also affected in that, right? Like she's also hurt in that as well. And you know, those two hooded men just like that's the way they shoot that too, like where it's like on the ground almost, and like these two men are just like beating the shit out of Carter, like that. It's like great, another janky but great stuff going on there.
It feels like with that low angle that there's like a powerlessness that Carter has in that moment where it's just like it's they're just overcoming him and beating the hell out of him with the bats, and it's just like there's a lot of shocking moments that happen very quick. I honestly thought that Carter was going to be a longer character in this as it went on.
It's kind of crazy what they do to him, because they set him up in a more generic way where she's an emergency room nurse, he's a cop who's often, you know, sort of in there and kind of sees her working her long, you know, sort of shifts that she works. And, you know, it turns out that he's kind of like a childhood friend who has become a cop and is clearly in love with her and pines after her. And he has, you know, a more sort of by the book attitude in terms of how to handle this sort of drug and mob infested, you know, sort of community that she's seeing. And her, you know, is become a vigilante superhero, go around just fucking massacring these people. And he believes in the more, I'm going to make an institutional difference from the inside. And if the movie makes any case against that, it's that he is immediately dispatched with in a scene where two goons from one of the gangsters just come in and beat the living shit out of them. He gets put in the hospital because he's set up as like he's going to help her solve this mystery, and they're going to pull at these threads in a classic noir fashion, and they're going to get to the bottom of this. And he is just instantly like I guess he's not killed, but he is like disabled or something. And we basically never see him again.
They basically say they destroyed his brain through the beating, essentially, and that he won't like. They said that it'd be lucky if he gets to piss by himself again or something. Like, it's crazy how they describe it.
Yeah. Also, I love any shot after someone gets beaten up in a movie. Like, I love any shot of them like in a fucking like their hamstrings are in a fucking cast.
The full body cast is actually kind of funny.
Every single time someone gets beat up in a movie, they're like a full body cast. It's really funny.
It's like it's something that would happen to Wile E. Coyote, right? He falls off a cliff and he's just in a full body cast somewhere.
Absolutely. But it is that moment where it's like this is kind of it sets it up so it's almost like you're going to have someone on the inside of the institution and then someone on the inside of the streets, and then they meld them together, but instead it kind of just makes a statement of like Coffee is now completely on her own and she has to do this by herself. And I think that's also something that
she has one other institutional helper, which is her city council man, Howard, played by Booker Bradshaw, who is the guy, the sort of politician who deals with the deputy commissioner. He sort of works out of these sort of sketchy nightclubs, and
I think this guy's great, by the way.
He is fantastic in the movie.
So good.
And he plans to make his way up to sort of congressman, sort of with her by his side as this kind of modern, strong, sexually liberated woman, as he kind of says it. The way that Pam Grier delivers, I ain't never screwed a congressman before, is so good right before they get to the scene of them like drinking sherry in front of the fireplace and him like pouring it like on his dick in front of the fireplace. I was like, this is insane.
And the framing through the fish tank as well. There's just something, I don't know, the style of it all and the kind of the blurriness as they're like getting drunker as well is kind of cool.
But you immediately know that one institutional guy is disabled, another one is here, and you're kind of waiting for the twist that he's going to be, you know, sort of involved and need to be taken care of as well, which you do eventually get to by the end, because they do want to highlight that despite there being these more sort of overt bad actors in the community, there are ones who sometimes are sort of covering for themselves, or, you know, at least participating in a way that's not as visible as, say, the Vegas mafia Don Vetroni in the film, who is the most like just ridiculous looking sort of like you know, gangster pimp character you've ever seen. And then obviously King George, played by Robert Duquie, from Sergeant Warren from RoboCop, I think was the last time we talked about him, and he is also just an absolute blast.
Nashville.
Oh, Wade in Nashville too. That's right.
Yeah.
He is so good in this movie for the brief time that he's on screen. His introduction in the like yellow jumpsuit with one of the sickest theme songs I've ever heard, where it's just like George, they call him Mr. Cool. As he's like walking into the scene.
George is kind of sick. Like
he is.
And you know what's interesting too, I find with like the kind of like flamboyant outfit and everything, it kind of, I think it I don't know what the word would be. It's like de-escalates you as feeling him as much of a threat as he's actually going to be. You actually think that maybe he's going to be a little bit goofier. He's definitely not. And no one that he works with is either. I mean, eventually when it gets to his death, it's absolutely insane. But
it's such a gnarly scene and such a, like, we talk about imagery in terms of black characters and black actors, and like that scene is like has incredible imagery. It's like, you know, just it is the guy in the car. Is that virtual?
It's Omar. It's Sid Haig, who was one of the other discoveries Jack Hill made.
He's the henchman. So he works with the Vegas guys. But
goateed Armenian man, who many people will now know from being in a ton of Rob Zombie movies because he's the clown. He's Captain Spaulding in all of those Rob Zombie movies. So, but yeah, before that, he was discovered by Jack Hill, and here he's just a goateed Armenian asshole.
He's just like the worst guy ever. And he's talking about this is literally like how we lynch Edwards, like nowadays. You know what I mean? Like it's like that's like literally what he says.
It's and it's like
it's gnarly as hell.
With the 70s like violence.
So the driver's also black too.
And you do you kind of see that throughout both films too, where it has black characters kind of in the institution that are also now, because of the power and the responsibility they hold within that system, that system, they are, you know, doing terrible things to their own community. Again, though, it never calls on it, which I think is really smart. It's just kind of in both of the films.
Yeah, you just kind of see it. That'll be in Set It Off as well. And also, like, it's in here. You know, people like trying to make it up, or people just in this position to, or with people that are in position to hurt, you know, like you see that a lot.
Well, and think about how high up King George like thinks he is before that happens to him too, right?
That's
is one of the things that kind of disturbed me, because when King George, they deliberately introduce him as like the coolest dude you've ever seen, and show you how much power he has over all of these sort of women around him, and this, you know, money making machine that he's a part of, that Coffee is obviously infiltrating. And so that's why I think it is so legitimately disturbing, both in terms of obviously the lynching imagery they're using by stringing him up behind the car, and the over-the-top insanity of driving him around and like smashing him into objects. Now, obviously, it's a dummy, but some of it is actual stunt work.
And that's honestly, the thing is, once they start with the stunt work, and then eventually, as it goes like halfway through the scene, it becomes the kind of ragdoll effect, because you know the time has passed and it's just a body at that point. It feels really just gross and evil, and just because it's like they're still doing it after the fact that they've already killed the man, you know, and it's just like
just had to go from the position of even a modicum of power that he had to just like this lifeless sack of meat being dragged around is, you know, it is actually, I think, a pretty effectively sort of nasty moment, and it's sort of a come down after the cat fight moment where you're kind of having a little bit more fun with the action, because Pam Grier is getting, you know, some ridiculous revenge in that sequence. My favorite detail of which is when she puts all those razor blades in her hair, so that when the white girls go to grab her hair, literally they get their hands all like sliced up trying to yank on her hair, and Vitroni's reaction, the gangster in the background, just being like, this is amazing. They're so violent. She's like a wild animal. Like, send her to me. I want Coffee.
And again, another callback to, I mean, I hate to bring it up again, but like another callback to One Battle After Another, in terms of like how white men view black women, and like this kind of like animalistic sexuality that they see, right? Like it's like you see a lot of seeds in and the biggest movie in 2025, like you see seeds from coffee in that.
I mean, we'll mention it. A character literally name drops Set It Off at the beginning of One Battle After Another, right? When Jungle Pussy jumps up on the bank, thing. Yeah. She's like, this is some Set It Off shit. Like literally, she cites the movie. So no, it's a good call out. Both of these movies, I think, are dealing with a similar subject there.
What's interesting too is when she's kind of on the rise, like looking for King George, and before she really gets the in, it is really nuanced to have Coffee go to one of the junkies that King George kind of has in one of his like pads.
Yeah,
and she
good
is
call out. I almost forgot about this scene, but she is really cruel to that other woman who is also a prostitute.
Right. There's this kind of ruthlessness I think that she has, because even though she's a junkie, and so there'd be some empathy from her because of her sister dealing with it, that there's still this thing that because she's connected to the kind of, I guess, darker side of it, the more violent side, she doesn't have nearly as much empathy as she normally would for someone like this. And she just, I think, also has kind of a desperation for getting higher in the ladder. So she's willing to just do kind of like awful things in certain moments in order to get there. And I like that there's not just this cleanness about her character. There is a little bit of like,
she was like, no solidarity with this white woman, I'm beating the shit out of her. It's a pretty wild scene, and that's what gets her to that next step on the ladder. So
I think what's really funny too, there's also some of this to set it off too, is like King George like clearly like loves his white bitch.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And so it's like taking this idea of like black love and like this like dirtiness of like interracial ideas, right? Not even interracial so much, but black and white ideas in this the venery of it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. The scandalousness of the entire operation, right? Like, and so you.
Well, I mean, Vitroni even plays that up when he has her like try to be like the call girl, right? Like what the information she actually beats out of that woman is that to get closer to Vitroni, he likes a woman that plays, as she puts it, exotic, and lets him be sort of dominate her or humiliate her in some capacity. That's the information she actually gets. And then when we see that scene, she tries to do it, and it's too humiliating. Like this like racist fetish that this guy has where he's like slapping her and spitting on her. And when you can see that she's trying to take this as far as she can, because she knows this is a sort of a strategic thing for her in terms of the plot, but she just can't take it at a certain point. And when she turns it around and whips the gun out, she's like, you want to spit on me and make me crawl? I'm going to piss on your grave is I think the term that she uses. It's a fantastic moment, and only stopped unfortunately by the Armenian henchman, Mr. Sid Haig, who comes in and disarms her. And, she spends a good portion of the movie kind of held hostage by him after that. But very briefly, there's a moment where she's like, I'm going to call out this like weird racist fetish this guy has on me. Yeah.
And it's, I really like that too, because we have seen scenes of her previously kind of, taking certain things so she can get to a certain point of murdering them in a way that she's not going to get caught. She's going to get away with it. And it's just great for in that moment. She just kind of can't handle it. She's like, this is so unbelievably terrible that I have to take out the gun now, even though it probably isn't exactly the best strategy. It's an emotional moment that you completely understand, because it just makes you feel so.
Yeah, it's actually one of the few mistakes, I guess you could argue, that she makes in the movie, or one of the few moments where she gets herself into like physical trouble. Right. And it's still funny. She manages to wiggle her way out of it by being like, actually, King George sent me to murder you. And so she just starts like a war between the guys. And that's why they end up going and killing King George, right? Is they think that they sent her as an assassin.
Yeah. That scene too, before they kill King George, is I really like the setup of just like how
in the backseat of the car when they're trying to be really friendly with him
a little bit, but they're doing it in that way that's like clearly something is wrong, and they're kind of smiling about
him trying to reassure his driver, everything's okay, man, it's cool, they're nice guys, don't worry about it, keep calm, right before what they actually do to him. Oh man,
it's just wild. And it's just, there's something about like when he starts saying, they're pranking me, and he starts laughing, and they just start laughing with him, because they're just like, yeah, sure, like, let's just go with whatever you need until we get to the point. And it's just there's so much that they kind of milk in you could say a perverse way, but it's very effective. It does make you feel like no one can be trusted in this kind of these deals, you know?
Well, and it's definitely meant to make you also afraid of, like, these are the two guys who are now holding Pam Grier too,
Yes,
right? Like
totally.
you know what these guys are capable of, even when Sid Haig's being a bozo in like his summer shirt by the pool, keeping Pam Grier in like a wooden box or whatever it is that she's in.
Yeah.
You're like, at any moment that he's going to, like maybe take her out back and put her in the, as they try to do later, sort of like dope her up and like murder her essentially. That is a threat that's kind of lingering over the, final, the sort of final sort of climax of the movie, which is mostly consists of the big reveal that Councilman Howard is in cahoots with Vitroni. They have some sort of financial deal, some sort of back-end agreement that despite these kind of progressive speeches he's making in front of the cameras, which he delivers quite well. When he gets that big moment in the park where he's just like, big business and government has kept our sisters prostitute and our brothers dope peddlers, and he's talking about the white power structure and narcotics importers and pointing it all the way to like the straight up war on drug shit like Bill Duke and Deep Cover, like that kind of stuff. And though I love the cut to the one guy who goes, we'll use a little bit at the beginning and a little bit at the end. They didn't like the part where he started saying accurate things about corrupt politicians and law enforcement agencies and all this. They were like, we like just, the little bit at the front and the end there. But it's all revealed as a front because, as he puts it, his politics are a facade for the only color he cares about, the green buck, which I just thought was kind of a funny way to phrase it. And he calls coffee just some broad eye fuck. In that scene,
which is really wild too, because you have that one scene where it's clear that she feels like there's something with them, like they have that very flirtatious scene where they seem to have a lot of chemistry.
She likes him,
and I will say with his performance there is that hint of like, I wish I didn't have to say this, but I'm going to go through with it for my own benefit because it's the position I'm in and everything. But I did still like that there's a little nuance in his thing where he's kind of like sad that he has to do it, but it's still this like, of course it's wrapped in everything else that's terrible about this character.
Well, yeah, because ultimately he's power hungry. He's trying to rise, and he's just like, unfortunately, it's not her fault she got into this bad situation, but it's inconvenient for me. So I'm cool with them taking her out back and getting rid of her, even though they do seem like they have a legitimate relationship in the early scenes.
There is that moment too where he doesn't want to say it like in front of her. He does whisper to the guy, and he just goes like, "Take her out and kill her," but he at first doesn't say it out loud in front of her, and then the guy actually goes, "Why don't you say that out loud so everybody can hear you?" And he makes him say it. So there is something where it's kind of like, even though he's about to do this terrible thing and say, "Go kill the girl that I supposedly love," it's like he's kind of being a coward about it too. Like he doesn't want to say it to her. It's like doesn't want to hurt her and doesn't want to be this like outwardly evil person. And I love that little nuance too.
Yeah, no, he is he's literally one of the more corrupt like politician characters I've seen like all my years of movie watching. Like it's actually really, really funny. He even at the end, like he's begging Pam Grier for forgiveness, and like a white woman comes out of his like, fucking bathroom. It's like, another one of these guys.
And the thing about it, again,
I love how anti-white woman this movie is. It's really great.
What's the actor's name again? The guy that plays the politician,
Booker Bradshaw.
Okay, Booker Bradshaw. He like the thing about him too is that he does have like kind of a sophisticated charm to him. So even when he is bullshitting, you're kind of like, I get it. Like, I kind of understand why someone would believe you.
He's got a silver tongue. You know what I mean? Like, he clearly, like, he's, college graduate kind of guy, it's like, oh, good old boy made it good, trying to, bring his community back up. But, like, it's, like, clear that like, it's a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah. And
I love when Pam even says it. She's like, you always were a good talker, Howard. You could talk me into almost anything. And you can honestly see in her performance how sad she is. She's like, I want to actually believe every single word that you're saying to me in that moment. And her performance is what kind of sells that moment for me.
I love too that she's kind of like, at this point, she feels like so much has happened, and it's just it's like almost, even though she has taken control and she has a power, it feels like it has also been out of her control. And she has this line where she's like, All your friends are dead. I killed them all. I don't know how I did it. And it feels like I'm in a dream. It's like something about that makes me.
Well, yeah, and I feels like I'm still in that dream, and I could kill you. Like I could kill you, right? Like that line is so good, and it's worth noting. Jack Hill was apparently extremely proud of that line.
Oh, okay.
And he said that part of the handover for Tarantino taking on sort of Pam Grier and kind of referencing Jack Hill's work, he said one of the first conversations they ever had was Tarantino quoting that line back to him and saying that he was like, that was the moment where I went like, you know, Pam Grier delivering that line was when I knew that this was like a really special performance. And he was just like, Jack Hill was like, I didn't really know who he was, but he signaled out my favorite line that I got into the movie. So
yeah. That's awesome. Because I mean, that one stood out to me completely, because it just feels like the whole movie, it does feel like she's had this sense of control, but I feel like that line reveals that there's also been this sense to her that she's been on a track. Like it was also inevitable. Like she couldn't really escape this feeling.
I feel like it also brings the movie back to reality a little bit, because that whole section prior to it, it just goes full Grindhouse Revenge exploitation action movie, like to the extreme. Like her stabbing fucking Sid Haig in the jugular with the pin that she's hiding in her hair, running across the streets and all of the guys getting like run over by like cop cars and shit. Her getting into that like hitchhiked vehicle with the shotgun. Literally driving through the wall of the house, hitting one of the henchmen like dummies. Oh yeah. And just what an incredible stunt. Shotgunning dudes in the chest, going straight to the Vitroni in the pool who's like begging for his life, and she's just playing with her food. She's like, oh shit, I won't kill you. Gets the info she needs out of him. Immediately go, this is a present from my sister. Boom, shotguns him like directly in the chest. And I think it goes to such just a little bit more of like a ridiculous action place that I think that line is her being like, I don't know how I was capable of doing that, because I am meant to be a real human being. I'm not just like an Arnold action star capable of doing stuff like that. I'm a real woman who has real feelings and in real political situations, clearly. And that line is meant to be, that all felt like a weird dream or fantasy, but like I'm back down to earth for this conversation with you. And it's just funny that conversation ends with her shotgunning him directly in the groin.
Oh yeah, complete emasculation.
After she sees the white woman, which is a hilariously funny detail, because
it's so funny.
It does make it seem like she does it because she's just mad that her boyfriend cheated on her. Like that's what that does as a gag. Even though there's obviously so much more depth to the decision she makes.
Right. Yeah, obviously there's a lot of depth to it, but I think also part of it is like a symbolism of Howard's kind of like corruptness in a way, right? Like it's it's a movie that is talking about it as impure, and then also, you know, there's obviously a lot of like good and bad political ideas in that, but for that time, I think that does make a lot of sense, right? It's like very compelling and interesting to talk about in that time.
Yeah, and I think it too, like she has that line right before it where she, like he's kind of trying to play her again and give her the talk and everything, and she goes, bullshit, you're just selling out to the white gangsters and businessmen. And then he again, like, you know, she's calling him out, and then he tries to kind of go into the love mode of like, but I want you, I miss you. And then as soon as she sees the white woman, she's just reminded again of like him being literally in bed with the like white corrupt system. So she's just automatically like, oh fuck this guy, dick off, and there you go. And I think that every little moment in that scene, because it actually goes longer than you would think. Like he spends quite a bit of time. He
monologues for quite a bit where he's explaining like sometimes you have to do like wrong things like this to do like one big right thing, is kind of how he describes it. That, you know, like basically he's like, I'm going to get to a place of power individually so that I can then trickle that back down and I can change things for all of us. And, you know, I want to get this money and power into the hands of black people, is like exactly what he says when she eventually goes, this is, you know, you're talking your way into convincing yourself of why you've done these things, but, you know, I think you're just selfish.
Yeah.
And I love too, like we were just talking about how like she's doing almost this more extreme action genre violence, and then when she does sit with him after all of that, like crashes through the through the wall with the car,
she's so bruised and like teary eyed and bloody, and it's great.
And then she just sits down and she just like points the gun at him and calmly goes, I ain't mad at you. I just love like the de-escalation of everything we've seen to like, now I'm going to go one-on-one with the guy I actually had like some intimacy with and be almost calm, but still deadly. And it's great stuff.
Yeah, no, this is a really, really good movie. So if we're pivoting towards reductive rating round, this is going to get a very, very solid 4 from me. And I do think that, you know, there are some people who kind of argue that dealing with or trying to reckon with such harrowing kind of like socio-political subjects, like things like drug addiction or prostitution or police corruption or race or poverty, gender, but doing so in this kind of like cheap grindhouse entertainment product, like you were bound to get some stuff that maybe feels a little contradictory or feels a little conflicted at times. And I do think that is true of this era of movie making, but at the same time, it's such a good package for angry feelings and cynical feelings and having topical and uncomfortable conversations, but doing so in a way that does provide a kind of cathartic fuel for feelings that the audiences were going through. And I mean, I looked up a couple interviews with Pam Grier. She's done so many over the years. She's just a fantastic speaker, and like she really thought a lot about how she was even using her own image in this era, if you like listen to her speak about it. And one of the biggest things she talks about is that she was like, you know, like there were huge blaxploitation actors who like never got the shit that she got for being in like overly violent movies or being a good representation of, you know, black womanhood or any of these things. And she was basically just like, I put what I felt was the sort of resilience of, as she puts it, sort of like her mother and her aunt. And she was like, you know, she was like, she grew up in the Jim Crow era when she was like, ambulances wouldn't be sent to my neighborhood. So I watched my mom basically be a nurse to black men in our community and stuff like that. And she was like, those were the kinds of feelings she saw when she got this role. And that was what she kind of wanted to represent. And the idea of doing that in like a way where she gets to wield the shotgun, you know, it's so rare for a black woman character, honestly, a woman character, let alone a black woman character at that time. So she was like, she saw the power of what that image would do. And she said her favorite thing to do was to sneak into the movie theaters and watch this with people because, and Jack Hill said it too, but like when people watch these in the theater, like when a white gangster got his fucking head blown off by a shotgun, people cheered like they were at a sporting event. Yeah. That was how people reacted to movies like this in that era. And like that's a sense of power I think you only get from this specific, you know, doing these gruesome action set pieces, addressing these topics in this way and making such a fun and entertaining exploitation kind of product like this, but still populating it with real things that people are going through. And obviously, so I think that is really, really well done. And I think the other aspect of this is obviously just Pam Grier. Pam Grier, absolute fucking movie star. Thank God Jack Hill pulled her off of the switchboard or whatever she was doing and was like, this woman is too beautiful and has too much confidence and attitude to be doing anything other than being on a movie screen, because it's exactly where she deserved to be. And I'm still impressed every single time I watch this, and I watch her just flip that switch between being like having that weariness and that, you know, sort of awareness of the, you know, the socio-political realities of the community, and then immediately being like, but I'm going to have fun and be a sadistic like femme fatale, and I'm also going to then be heartbroken, and then I'm going to take revenge. I'm going to do all these things all sometimes in a single scene. And she, you know, it's never tonally strange. She absolutely nails it. So easy for.
Yeah, 4 for me as well. I mean, it was very easy. I was just thoroughly entertained throughout. I do think the nuance that Pam Grier brings is essential for this film working as much as it does. I do see kind of like some of those contradictions for sure. I do also think like, you know, that this kind of a system, it's like people live within, it almost forces some people to be kind of contradictory to their values at times. And I think even though the film, I think it has a mix of just, it's doing it because the genre does it, and you just have to have certain things in these genre movies. And then there are other things.
Jack Hill will be the first one to tell you that there's a reason there's a lot of women's breasts get exposed because
Right.
shirts are torn, and it was because it was what people expected of the movies at the time.
Yeah, they had like a tally checklist. They're like at least 10 breasts per film kind of thing. It seems. Yeah,
that absolutely exists in this movie for
you
sure.
know what I mean? Like,
big fan of the 70s over here.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Thank you, Jack. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Hill. But yeah, it's I think that Pam Grier is unbelievable in this, and I do think that Jack Hill directs it in a way that has such style, but still there's this kind of rough around the edges aspect to it that I think really complements the film, especially in its action sequences and things of that nature. I also like the certain thing that they add, like the fact that the dealers are kind of contaminating the heroin so that they can have more of it, but it's really hurting the community. I just like those little details that they throw in there to give her more of a motivation to do what she's doing. And it was really cool too to see. I don't know if I've seen much of like younger Pam Grier. I'm more used to the stuff that she was in like the 90s, like Jackie Brown, of course, and like I think she was in a Fresh Prince episode that I grew up on that I really liked. But yeah, so it was cool to just see her.
She was on Martin.
Yeah.
She was on Martin. Yeah, Above the Law. So like she.
Oh yeah, I forgot she's the co-star with Seagal in Above the Law.
Oh,
I forgot
yeah.
that.
She's out here. Yeah, she's out here, but in a different way. In the 70s, she's like just so fine and all these different things. Yeah,
and that's the thing too. Like her being younger, it's like she still kind of has that thought of like being like having wisdom and being a really intelligent woman. But there's just that like. There's just that drive that she has as her younger self to like take this vengeance, and it's a really powerful performance. So yeah, I couldn't recommend this enough. This is just so much fun and still properly harrowing in certain moments as well. So really good.
Yeah, for you, Jason.
I'm gonna give it 4 stars as well. Yeah, I mean, what else is there to say about the jankiness, about how raw it feels? Like, it really feels like a film that is catered to a specific community, to a specific, like, income bracket, which I think is very interesting. Like, everyone can enjoy the movies, but this is a movie that's, like, really made for community, and that's what I really like about it. It's on the nose, but in a really cool way. You know what I mean? Like, in a way where it's, like, big, and it's a spectacle, and it's loud. I really, really enjoy it. Really enjoy a lot of the stuff that's going on here. Pam Grier looks so good. The villains are out of control. They're cartoonish. They make no sense. You know what I mean? Like they're really, really fucking racist. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's like it's like all the different things that I like out of like these like type of movies and this villain. It's not in these villains. Like it's not afraid to go there. It's nasty in the way that we like it. And I'm smacking a 4-star on it. I think a lot of those movies, they get a bad rep for being like almost overly cartoonish, but I don't feel that way when I was watching this. In the same way, like when I watched Petey Wheatstraw, like Petey Wheatstraw is actually like a little bit more theatrical in a way, like a little more fantastical than this is. That's the first thing we ever did on you guys and I on Sleazoid.
Yeah, Jason brought the Rudy Ray Moore on.
So, but this is a different movie than that, right? Like I think it's a much more interesting more movie than that in terms of who Pam Grier is and what the action's like. So I'm gonna give it 4 stars and just really grateful we watched it.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah. No, it's fantastic. But that's going to wrap it up here, I think, for Coffee. We're going to be right back, and we're going to be talking about Black women in the 90s, bringing back the sort of blaxploitation entertainment, but doing so in a little bit more, with a little bit more studio money behind it. We're going to be talking about Set It Off. Stick around.
No more killing.
There's armed robbery and it's murder. Is it ours? Yes.
All right, we are back and we are talking Set It Off, the 1996 neo-noir action thriller heist film, crime drama, directed by F. Gary Gray, written by Kate Lanier and Takeshi Buford or also Buford. I don't know. Jayson, maybe, one of the writers here. There you go. And starring, as Jason's already highlighted, a pretty insane cast of Jada Pinkett-Smith, Queen Latifah, Vivica A. Fox, and Kimberly Elise as a crew of sort of down on their luck inner city black women in LA who decide to start robbing banks to pay their bills and support their families. And jumping here ahead 2 decades after Coffee, I wouldn't necessarily say blaxploitation, quote unquote, of the 1970s necessarily had like a rebirth in the 90s, but the rise of kind of like hip hop music videos and soundtracks, and especially the success of something like Do the Right Thing, it really was like a jumping off point for studio confidence to be like, we are going to greenlight some black filmmakers and some black stories in a way that they hadn't been doing as often in the 80s. And Jayson, you might be able to speak on this, but like, I think of guys like the run in the 90s of like the John Singleton, like crime dramas, like Boys in the Hood and Poetic Justice, or speaking of Tupac on screen, like Juice by Spike Lee's DOP Ernest Dickerson is one we've talked about, but like Bill Duke's Deep Cover, Mario Van Peebles' New Jack City. You can trace this all the way to Hype Williams doing Belly, right? Like it was it was a totally different era for hip hop music video directors kind of being welcomed into the Hollywood system and kind of bringing some of that style and that expressionism kind of with them, especially when you look at things like Belly or New Jack City and stuff like and Juice. So this is like a pretty specific movement in the 1990s, and F. Gary Gray is like one of the names that rises during that time because he did all those music videos for like Ice Cube and Dr. Dre. Like his run of music videos from like 92 to 95. He did some.
It Was a Good Day. He does Natural Born Killers, and he does Keep Your Heads Ringing. So he did a lot of that stuff for the West Coast rappers at that time, Cube and Dre, the two hottest West Coast guys.
Yeah. So like he, like a lot of other honestly discovered 80s and 90s directors, he came from the world of directing music videos. Like, just unlike Russell Mulcahy or like Tony Scott or David Fincher, many of these guys we've talked about, he specifically did hip hop and rap videos for artists like WC and Dr. Dre, Outkast as well. And WC and Dr. Dre actually both appear in this movie, which we'll talk about. They have cameos. And his friendship with Ice Cube resulted in the chance for him to direct a feature you probably have heard of, the now pretty iconic LA stoner comedy buddy movie Friday, starring Cube and Chris Tucker. And the massive success of Friday, as well as his connection to Queen Latifah, because he had done a few videos for her as well, is what got him the job for Set It Off, which was a sort of much higher but still modestly kind of budgeted crime drama. But it was also produced by New Line, who had done Friday and saw so much success with that. And basically their vision of it was they saw Thelma and Louise was kind of a big hit, and they saw dollar signs when they were like, we can get like a hip hop version of Thelma and Louise. Like that was the reductive sort of New Line vision of it. And F. Gary Gray kind of came in, man, and he was like, I know exactly how I'm going to direct this. And he does a pretty fantastic job with it, I think.
It's pretty wild too to come from like your first film being Friday, which I think Friday's a lot of fun. But it's just to go from that and then to Set It Off, something as like sturdy and stylish and just so well controlled as a heist film, as a drama. It's pretty incredible to watch somebody like, you'd think when you start in the stoner comedy realm that you're gonna kind of make your way up to something like this, and for his like confidence to be there already and make this your second film, it's pretty incredible stuff.
Yeah, Jayson, what was your first like experience with Set It Off, just out of curiosity?
I think I had watched it, just like everybody else, just like most black kids. I think I watched it like very early on in my life, maybe like 12, 13, 14, like around that time when I was like watching a lot of those kinds of movies, such as we talked about Juice, we talked about Menace to Society, which like
somehow forgot about that one. Should have mentioned that one too.
The fatalism of Set It Off in a weird way has that in Menace to Society as well. And so all those kind of Friday, Poetic Justice, Boys in all those movies that seem to like all take place in Los Angeles besides Juice. all those movies are movies that I watched when I was a kid. So like these are things that I just like really grew up with. Seeing, those movies have a complicated relationship because they can be very didactic and they can be very on the nose, but it's hard to deny its impact and it's on the world in general. Its impact on hip hop, right? It takes, movies like Boys in the Hood takes Ice Cube from just being a rapper backed by Bomb Squad, backed by all these politically charged Black Power statements. And Ice Cube at that time was like the best rapper alive too. And so it takes Ice Cube and makes him into this movie star, right? Like all these different things. It takes Tupac, Tupac is so good in Poetic Justice, right? And Janet Jackson as well. And so it takes all of these hip hop artists and makes them into like movie stars as well. So that era is like really unassailable in terms of impact. I have a complicated relationship with the movies themselves, but Set It Off is a good one. So I'm like really excited to talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, Set It Off does to me seem like one of just like the kind of like poppier like hits they kind of had, because there was already kind of obviously New Line was comparing it to Thelma and Louise, and it's hard to also watch any sort of LA bank robbery movie and not think a little bit of Heat that came out like sort of a year before, right? And so like
also, if I'm not mistaken, Jada Pinkett-Smith's character in the movie says, "Okay, Thelma and Louise," like she actually like it's like
yes,
yeah,
the same way that Paul Thomas Anderson referenced Set It Off at the beginning with Jungle Pussy being like, "This is some Set It Off shit," immediately, like these films are quoting each other in a way, and I don't know, I Set It Off I was kind of blown away with because I was familiar with F. Gary Gray. I'd known his name. I knew he was a very successful like studio filmmaker. I had seen the Italian Job remake. I had seen Law Abiding Citizen with Jamie Foxx and Gerard Butler, which was a lot of fun. And obviously more recently, he got a lot of acclaim for Straight Outta Compton. And he also did one of, he did one of the big Fast and Furious movies.
I forgot he did Straight Outta Compton.
So he got to direct Ice Cube's son as well, right? So it's just, he got to actually tell that story a bit.
We'll talk about the movie another day.
Exactly. We don't need to bring that one up. But partly why I wanted to bring that up is because these were the movies I knew him for before seeing Set It Off. So Set It Off I came to late because one of our sort of rep houses here just played a revival 35mm print of it as part of a we used to have a series here. I actually forget the name of it now, but it was two guys who used to do sort of hip hop in film sort of monthly series. It was how I saw New Jack City on a film print, as well as how I saw some other films like this, and they played this one, and I was like, oh, F. Gary Gray, what a cast! And
also
look at the ratings.
Did you mention the Negotiator?
I forgot to mention the Negotiator too.
The Negotiator rocks.
But I was honestly surprised at how good this movie was when I threw it on, and for no other reason other than when people talk about F. Gary Gray, you look at like what his most popular movies are on Letterboxd. This one's like number 10 or something, and I'm like, how is that possible? How is that this deep down in your catalog? Because it is a really, really just handsomely well-made movie, shot on location all over LA by this DP Mark Rashevsky, who the only other movie I've seen from his is Red Rock West for John Dahl, but it's a very moody 90s crime movie that one is. And here he does this more sort of lived in kind of like handheld thing. The way he follows these actresses around while they perform these high sequences, it's really slick. It's really propulsive. And even when he's sitting down and slowing down and telling these actual character stories with these women who all are delivering fantastic performances. They have such great chemistry together. Every single one is fleshed out and has a motivating backstory that I think really gets you involved emotionally with them, and how they all chaotically collide with each other as the movie goes on and gets put on this like tragic trajectory. I don't know. I was like really just locked into this movie I was so happy the first time I saw it was in a theater and it was loud, and God, it was a fantastic experience.
And it's really cool too to have like it purely from the woman's perspective, and it doesn't make it, I would feel like maybe a director would have this impulse to make it slightly softer or less gritty than your kind of male counterparts with the fatalism, and which we'll obviously get to. But it's like what he does still focus on is the close-knit relationships of them, which makes every violent scene and all of that grit that eventually does come that much more impactful. Like, I find this movie, I think we did say it in the previous segment, but just find this movie to be completely like devastating. And I guess I don't know why I wasn't anticipating everything that eventually happens, but it felt like maybe because they spend so much time with them, and there's so many scenes of them just like on the rooftop smoking weed and laughing together, and and just
and there's a natural hangout quality and warmth that you get involved with. And honestly, even when they flip it and they start going action movie mode, there's again that what we were talking about in Coffee, that sense of this kind of cathartic, like we're fighting back against the system and, you know, we're accomplishing something, we're seizing some sort of control or power. And obviously, yeah, maybe we should have known based on what kind of movie this is that, you know, ultimately that's not going to work out. Or there's a limitation, I think, to the amount of power you can seize when these women are in the position that they're in. And it does circle back around to being this kind of melodrama or this like outlaw morality tale, kind of in a way, on these, you know, very economically desperate people just trying to survive in this very racist sort of militarized streets and stuff like that. And it's, I don't know, I was really, really moved by this movie.
Yeah, and I say this too, like the way that it even starts, it kind of sets you up for the rest of the film and what you're to expect. Like the violence right away is very blunt and very just forward. Like the scene where, you know, it opens up on an actual bank robbery, which kind of catapults the whole story and the motivations of the characters in a sense.
Yeah,
and
we're introduced to Vivica A. Fox's character, who's playing Frankie, who had just been in Independence Day, when obviously, speaking of Tarantino again, because he robs all of these people of who they cast, because he would use her in Kill Bill as well.
That's right,
she's introduced just working at this bank sort of downtown, held at gunpoint by a man named Darnell, who is actually WC, who she knows from sort of her projects. It has obviously a really flashy, glossy sort of 90s shooting style, but as I think you were leading to, Jamie, the harrowing detail of Darnell just shooting that old woman right in the head, right in front of her, and that blood squib going all over Fox's face, and how sort of scared and just traumatized she is that she doesn't even follow the like basic robbery procedure, which is what ends up sort of getting her fired, because they go, well, you know, because it's a racist boss, he goes, well, you knew this person, so how do I know that you're not an insider accomplice and also trying to rob me, even though she is just a working woman who's like, I show up every day and just like work my ass off at this place, and so what that I come from a poor background, why is that enough to like fire me? Because that's ultimately why they fire her.
Yeah, and it's also like, it's like a woman's head was exploded in front of me. Sorry, I didn't know how to like use my right hand to signal somebody and my left to grab the money or whatever. Like, it's like, dude, in that actual moment, it's like, fuck procedure. What are you're gonna do? You're psychologically overwhelmed, you know? It's
and a great performance in this, I think, is John C. McGinley. I was like,
I was just gonna say that too.
The like super like evil cop that like thinks he's cool, but like he's just like obviously so evil. So, I love like he has details in it where he has a black partner who's a woman, and he does this like pseudo kind of like, you could call it probably racist, where he's like using slang, but in a more mocking way when he's figuring out the case. You
and
feel
stuff
me,
like that.
baby?
Yeah, exactly. Stuff like that. And I will say, I mean, I think McGinley is fantastic. Yeah, he's really good.
It's terrific. It's terrific work.
Yeah. But like having those moments are, I think, so essential, because he does have like a little bit of this, it's not charm by any means, but like you kind of enjoy watching him as a performance, and you kind of get this like confidence about him that he thinks that he can talk to anybody, but he's probably failing more than he realizes. And I think that performance is really interesting to watch. And
he has a very interesting arc, which we'll get to, but like by the end of the film, he is like maybe the one cop who's given a moment to like realize like what it is that he's perpetuating with his behaviors, like even unknowingly, like he thinks of himself as like a guy who's doing the right thing, and by the end of the film he's like, this doesn't actually feel as good as I thought to capture these women. This is, you know,
yes, absolutely.
Even though in the beginning he's being such an asshole to Frankie, and I love that moment where Frankie goes over to the sort of other black woman in the room and says, you didn't even ask me if I was thirsty, sister, or whatever too, right? Like he was just like, you're you know, part of this system with these people and what they're doing to me.
And I think we were talking about it earlier as well, but there's a couple characters that he Gray includes, like the woman that works for the Child Protective Services that eventually just kind of like appears with TT when TT at one point goes to work with her kid because she can't afford the babysitter, and so the kid gets into some chemicals when they're cleaning and is poisoned, and then so a child protective services starts to kind of question her and take the child, and it does feel like a similar moment in that bank office when it does happen. And speaking just real briefly, speaking on that scene in like when the first bank robbery happens, I love the direction in it where it starts to get like more intense. At first, Vivica really does appear to be really charismatic and she's smiling and very good with the customers. And then as soon as she senses that something's wrong, he starts to do these like big close-ups and this kind of intense directing with this like windy, dark sound design that just makes you feel like something really, really bad is about to happen and change the entire course of her life. I kind of love
that this movie is so in your face about the fact that it's directed by a guy who has worked in making visually striking music videos, because there is moments obviously where he is being more grounded than that, and especially when he gets to some of the conversations and the hangout and the drama. But his instincts click in when some of those action scenes start, and you're just like, man, look at the beautiful like Tony Scott lighting coming through those bank windows, or look at the way he moves that camera in slow motion as a character whips a gun out. Like, this is a guy who comes from a background in music videos, and I love that.
Yeah, it's like I come from the background of trying to make this rapper look as cool as possible.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And so you take that to the movies, especially in a movie like Set It Off, which is so charged emotionally, but has all these really cool set pieces. The first robbery that they do actually kind of reminded me of Point Break. Remember how in Point Break...
Speaking of John C. McGinley, too. Point Break.
Yes. Exactly. What is he? He says something really, really funny in Point Break, too, that I totally forgot. Like something like burn him, Utah, or something crazy like that. Wild. Yeah. But, it's funny. McGinley's performance in this, and also, like, it's the seeds of Dr. Cox and Scrubs, too. Like, this sardonic, angry quality to him. This sardonic charisma that he possesses in this movie, and he does in Scrubs as well. It's very interesting. Just he's a really, really great actor. I'm a big John C. McGinley fan. Always good to see him pop up somewhere. Always.
Yeah, he's got this weird thing about it where he's like, he always plays characters that are written as completely unlikable. And oftentimes it still works as like someone that you're not rooting for, but there's something about McGinley that is like automatically charming in his performance, and there's a confidence to it.
I think about him all the time in Office Space when he's just the guy who's
another
in like
example,
the HR department. Where you're like, you want to hate the HR department, but this guy's got like a weird personality.
Yeah, exactly.
You want to get a beer with this guy. Yeah, he's like a weird guy.
It's like he always has some type of way of playing a cop in some form, but he does do it in a different way.
It is an interesting premise to make him the guy who's going after these women, because they obviously don't give him, like I think another movie would, they don't give him a more motivating backstory. They don't give him like the Pacino in Heat, like the obsession and the wanting to do good and all of this quality, because they really connect all of that to the women in the film, especially when they expand Frankie, because you think kind of Frankie is your lead, but honestly it kind of becomes more like Jada Pinkett Smith's movie as soon as she's introduced, because she's playing Stoney, who is sort of orphaned woman who is kind of strapped for cash, and we have some sad details about her sort of like prostituting herself essentially to try to afford her younger 17-year-old brother Stevie's UCLA tuition. You also have Cleo, played by Queen Latifah, who is amazing as essentially this kind of like the sort of tough lesbian who like loves fixing up cars and kind of wants to prove herself in these more sort of male dominated spaces.
Also great. Ursula, her girlfriend, so funny. Ursula, I think is hilarious. Ursula does
the cut to her like buying underwear and her dancing on her car after they robbed the first bank is so funny.
It's really funny. It's really funny. Also, Ursula doesn't say a thing the whole movie, but she's just so fucking really hot.
Yeah. And there is something about like she doesn't speak, but she does a lot of these facial expressions when with Chloe, and there's still this strange chemistry that they have together that you kind of understand, even though someone is
so
muted.
sick with Queen Latifah, like with the gun in the baggy clothes, like having arm candy in a sick car like that. I don't know. She rocks whole every single time Queen Latifah is on screen.
Comedy is unbelievable too.
Yeah.
Like how about towards the end of, or this is the second robbery when it's the thing when the cops are outside like ticketing like a homeless guy, and she sees it and she's just like trying to walk inconspicuously. Like,
yeah,
it's really great.
Or when she gets like super stoked in the warehouse or their HQ kind of hangout space that they have, and she like gets so excited that she shoots off a gun. Just stuff like that. It's like what I like too is that there are those moments that you've seen in other heist movies, like when one of the members is getting a little bit too overzealous and like spending the money and showing off, and there is that scene where they fight about it, but it doesn't turn into anything like, I think, overly cliche or turning into a character moment in which
it's literally the scene in Goodfellas, just instead of it triggering them all starting to kill each other, they literally just slap each other and go, we're friends, like what are you doing?
Like get your job back so that we can pull this off. And she does, so there's that kind of recognition and change that I really liked in that moment.
It always retreats back into being like, this is technically a grounded crime drama based in sort of real politics and real feelings and real womanhood and sisterhood and like things that it's getting at. And that's why I found it such a good pairing, Jayson, with Coffee, because it does that same thing where it's bringing up these real subjects, and every once in a while it breaks that and it heightens itself and it goes into, this is an actual action thriller. This is like a bigger movie. Look at the way that they move in slow motion and wield guns in this. But then it will still find a way to connect that with cathartically, I think, with these things that these characters are actually going through and this reality that they go through. I think especially when they involve the TT character played by Kimberly Elise, who is this was her first movie, actually. She was a theater actress who just happened to audition. I did not know that.
Wow.
And they were so moved by her audition where, she gets to hear play sort of the single mother trying to take care of her child. And all of these women are just kind of barely surviving on this menial sort of night shift jobs at a janitorial company where they clean up these sort of lavish downtown office buildings, which is some of my favorite looking stuff in the film, because when they have to wear like those jumpsuits and they obviously go home and it's a very different environment than when they are in just this hollowed out rich building that they are, and they're just cleaning up after these rich people and stuff like that. So there's a good, and it's never really pointed out that it's just an environmental thing, that this is something they experience. And then you combine that with them being sort of like mistreated by the boss or taken advantage of, by someone who doesn't care about their personal problems. And you throw in details, as you were highlighting, Jamie, of like her having to bring her kid to work because she can't afford a babysitter, and then the kid getting, accidentally poisoned, even though it's not her fault, and having the kid taken away, and then having lawyer bills she needs to pay for. And the way that it just accumulates all of this before they start jokingly kind of going, if crackhead Darnell can rob a bank, maybe we can rob a bank. And that's literally all it is. They just go, we're a little smarter than Darnell, I think. We could probably do this.
Back to Darnell, actually, it's kind of funny in the beginning of the movie, Vivica A Fox be like, I know you had an account here, Darnell. Darnell's like ready to fucking rob the shit out of this bank.
I forgot about that line.
She's like, I didn't know you had an account here.
And it just turns into the most traumatic experience ever. Oh man, I
think she senses like something is up, because like, why would Darnell ever be here? Like, she senses like clearly there's two dudes here that like don't have banks here, clearly. They do not have accounts here.
Which is where Gray too starts to do those zoom ins, which is so awesome. And also like, speaking of kind of his the way that he really makes you feel that kind of intensity. I love the fun attitude he gets too. Like right after the bank scene where Vivica is, kind of interrogated by the cops or whatever, it goes into their neighborhood, and they have this awesome zoom in that probably kind of the style of that would come from a music video or something, where the camera's actually moving through everybody at the party before they get to the three main characters and then they start a conversation. But it just gives you that sense of like community and how much fun everybody's having, and it's just like it's a really fun scene to kind of get into these characters and how close they all are and how fun loving they are when they're together.
Yeah, it wants you to get into their friendship. That's why it includes those moments of them, like, I mean, we've talked about it a couple times already, but them getting stoned on top of that factory is such a great moment, because they literally discuss that, like, that factory is closed down and so many people lost their jobs, and like, you know, but at the same time, they're driving around these pockets of LA that have so much personality and so much warmth and humanity in them, blasting music, sometimes from stolen cars. One of my favorite details is Queen Latifah rating people's CDs and being like, this is fucking dog shit, and like throwing it out until she finds something good to play while she's driving the stolen car around.
I know joke by Rakim too, which I think is so great. I wonder if they're making if Queen herself is making a comment on the type of rap music she likes, right?
Yeah,
because I wonder what she threw out. Maybe she threw out, you know, like the, you know, Doggy Style or The Dog Father or Dog Food or all that. So like maybe she threw out these like macho misogynistic rap albums for something like Rakim, who's so classical and so like jazz like, you know, like Rakim never curses in his music. I don't know if you guys have ever heard Rakim, but like Rakim literally like never curses ever. And like
I've heard that, but I didn't know that actually.
Yeah, not a curse guy, you know, like I ain't no joke. I used to let the mic smoke now, like and make sure it's broke. Like it's like the guys, like it's that type of like almost like 1980s, like the genre's first happening, and so it's like very respectable in a way.
Right.
Okay.
And that kind of, I wonder if it's a comment on who Queen Latifah is as a queer woman herself, you know?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
totally. And I mean, just the soundtrack in general of this movie is unbelievable. I think it's crazy. Known as like one of the best. The amount of charted hits that this movie had was just unbelievable. Like
this movie soundtrack went platinum.
Yeah. It's great from start to finish. It's like an hour of just some of the best.
And you will
hip-hop.
literally never hear "Don't Let Go" by En Vogue the same way until you've seen Blair Underwood just like sweatily candle lit covering Jada Pinkett-Smith in oil for 10 minutes, it feels like.
Dude, also I love the contrast of that scene, because they purposely set up when it's showing Jada's character prostituting herself for the help for her brother. It's like, you know, it has this scene where the camera kind of pans over from hearing the bed move to them actually doing it, and it goes into her face, and she's kind of like obviously just not feeling great about it whatsoever, just feeling like she wants to go anywhere else. And then when you get that scene with Underwood, and it's like shot just in the most romantic, sensual, like
classic Hollywood sex scene stuff.
Yeah, and it's just like that kind of pure pleasure
the dissolves
thing. It's such
crazy.
Yeah, it's such a great contrast, and it really makes you happy for her character that she's like kind of found this rather than where she started there.
Yeah,
and,
Blair Underwood is also kind of funny in this. It's like Blair Underwood always is just like a suave looking guy, you know, with like a nice apartment. That's like him in every movie.
Yeah, totally. I mean,
he just looks too good in a suit in a rich, you know, apartment or house, you know. I did like seeing him again recently in Long Legs. I thought he was pretty good in that, actually.
It's always good to see Blair Underwood. Also, like, I like how, again, this is another movie that like hates white women. Blair Underwood is like a stand-up guy who's like wants Jada Pinkett-Smith, you know, taking her out, like doing, like treating her with kindness, and fucking Luther takes their money and is just fucking this like crackhead prostitute white girl, like just fucking like cokehead. It's really funny.
Oh yeah,
God.
I love too. Like he's got like the classiness of his character. Like at one point he's saying like tonight, you know, we're doing Mexican night, and he's got like the music going, and then later on he says like tonight's Italian. Like he does like themed dinners for her and everything.
Yeah, no, he's very he's very cosmopolitan there in this movie. That's what I think is
even
super
his
cool
apartment,
about him.
like the chair that she ends up sitting in when he invites her inside, and it's like this like. It's I mean, it's super cool. It just looks incredibly uncomfortable, but it's very much like I don't know. He's got this kind of hip, trendy vibe to him in a way that is obviously has wealth, but it does show personality, I think, a little bit in his character. Even though
he's
is a
obviously
big banker.
living with a level of comfort and with a level of like, I actually see a path for myself and a future for myself. I'm not just like thinking about like, what are my bills tomorrow and how am I covering those? And that's something that obviously Stoney is like, she's chasing. She wants that for herself, even though, you know, she doesn't know how it is that she's going to be able to do that. She didn't go to school in the same way. She can't hold a conversation at the same kind of events that he can in the same way, even though when she does it in a very funny way where she kind of like pretends that she's in banking and she's just like, yeah, I'm working on all of these accounts and these leads and doing this, even though she's planning to rob banks with her friends. That's where she's getting her cash from.
One of my favorite parts is when she uses like the kind of she uses their language. It's like she's smart enough to pick it up of like how they talk, and even if she doesn't necessarily, you know, it's kind of meaningless what she says, but she says all the right things that they're impressed by her. And I love the kind of smug look she has afterwards of like, I didn't say shit, but you guys are impressed with me anyway, kind of thing. Like she cracked the code and figured it out.
She just threw on the confidence, and I love that. That's also what, like, it feels like the Blair Underwood character. He's Keith, like one of the bank managers they're casing, possibly robbing at some point. He's immediately hypnotized by her the second he sees her. He's attracted to that confidence and how he says that she's so beautiful, but she's so hard in a way, is how he kind of describes it. And you know, he's trying to talk to her. I mean, that conversation they have where he literally says that, you know, we as a people would need to plan for the future, and you know, she kind of shuts that down by going, it's easy to say that from your perspective, but from mine, obviously one thing we haven't talked about yet, maybe one of the biggest motivating factors in the movie is that Jada's brother is obviously gunned down in cold blood by the LAPD, including John C. McGinley's character, for the crime of literally walking out of an affordable housing complex with a haircut. That was, so you know, and it's
connected
so like, to the bank robbers,
right? Because I think the one of the members that was doing the bank robbery has like AD or AP kind of sketched out on the back of his head. And so I think it's like a gang affiliate of some kind, or like a sign or something. And so
I think it's their housing project, is it?
Oh,
yeah, it's their housing project is what it is.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But they don't know that. They think it's a gang thing, and his friend tells him, dude, this is literally just like for the community, you know, like not, this isn't some sort of gang symbol or anything like that, but they don't know that, or they don't think that.
And the thing is too, it's like, even if it was gang affiliate, it's like to assume in that kind of the way that they do, they literally surround the kid. He's like 20 years old or something like that. They surround him with machine guns and then just let
like
it
SWAT
go.
And rifles.
It's like if you've ever seen like Jason Goes to Hell, like it's on like the Friday the 13th movie. They surround him and they shoot him in the exact same way. It's absolutely just like ruthless. It's almost like over the top the way that it's portrayed in a sense, but it doesn't feel that way at all. You honestly, you wholeheartedly believe that this is the type of thing that happens, and it's just like
because they tell him to like go down, and they, you know, he starts to pull out a birthday champagne bottle he was given by one of his friends from his coat, and they interpret that as he's pulling some sort of weapon or something, and they shoot him, and then go over his lifeless body to actually commit the rest of like this nighttime raid, this sort of shootout with these who they presume are the bank robbers that they're going after. And that's the image that really got me, is when they just like step over his body and then put a thing over it, and Jada has to come out and just see that and discover it for herself. And the way that scene just becomes like her screaming and crying, and McKinley realizing that he just helped just like murder a kid, and he gets maybe the only character who kind of gets a close-up where he goes, yeah, that was probably a mistake, even though he's like an absolute fucking asshole. Even he is kind of like, that was probably not the move. And that misery is what really does, I think, compound their conviction to rob this bank, and realize that, you know, Frankie has the sort of know-how. She's worked at the bank, she knows their security system. Cleo is a great getaway driver, and also has just the most balls of anyone on is like the most like ride or die immediately. I'll whip a gun out to do cool shit with my friends immediately. And then TT is maybe the last one they need them to, you know, who has the most uncertainty due to her child. And so when her child is taken by protective services and she needs that money, that's the last straw. They are casing banks. They are pulling up in cars. They got crazy wigs and sunglasses, and they are straight up gonna do these, basically like 2 or 3 different heist sequences that are very, very excitingly and dramatically, intensely shot.
Yeah, and I really love like Kimberly Elise's character. I think is so essential just because of her kind of. She has like a little bit more innocence, it feels like, just because of her connection to her son. I think there's that like protective instinct where she doesn't want to put obviously him in danger, but even herself in danger as well. But there's that desperation that she clearly has, and the mix of those two things, the desperate but with innocent and kind of still she's the most meek character. They kind of have to peer pressure into taking action, right? Yeah, because she doesn't. I think she kind of chickens out of the first heist. And that's one of my favorite scenes. That's one of my like when they go to do the first heist and they immediately go, this doesn't feel right, we probably shouldn't do this, and Frankie just goes, we're already here, fuck it, I'm doing it, and she jumps in first. And the way the other women react to that is what makes this such a great character drama, because Cleo immediately is like, well, Frankie did it, so I'm in. And then you see, Jada takes like a few beats before she does it, but she's like, well, I gotta support my girl, so I'm going in with a gun. And obviously TT runs away, and the conversation they have about that after is one of my favorite things, because Frankie gets really hard on her. She goes, well, she didn't pull this heist with us, she took the bus home, so she doesn't get a cut. And Jada just goes, what are you talking about? If anyone needs this money, it is TT more than anybody. And she was there, she wanted to be there, she had a moment of weakness, give her the money. And I think that was just one of the moments where I feel like in the male driven version of this movie, that would have caused just like a rift, and those characters would have started like shooting each other or something. And in this, it is like, no, we need to actually have solidarity with our sisters here, and we need to pull her up with us, and next time she will do it with us, right? And that's why I think that like the movie brings so much nuance and depth to the characters in that way. It's the same thing that we were saying with Chloe or Cleo and Stoney when they have the fight about her being like spending too much money and showing it off. It's the same thing with Vivica's character, where she's showing kind of a weakness and not necessarily a greed, because I kind of like, you can understand where she's coming from. It's like, we risked this and you left us. So there's kind of this like, she feels just a little bit resentful there. But I think having the two of them be like, yo, like we are together, we are one, and that's what's going to make us stronger and what's going to allow us to do further heists, and maybe it will build her confidence. It's a microcosm of, we are lifting up all of the Black women who need help, not just the ones who are capable and can take action. And, right? And like, that's what they're trying to say. And then seeing a character make that change, and not necessarily like super quickly, but like with a decent conversation had in between it, is, I feel like you see more strength in that character, because you're like, they have flaws like any character would or any person would, and now when they are actually confronted with it, instead of just pure stubbornness, which we do often see in these heist movies, especially with the men, instead there is kind of an adjustment, and there's kind of an adaptation, and they're able to move forward. So I think that's really awesome to watch. And I just love the friendship. The friendship dynamic is what's so important about the movie. Like, having such a silly scene like that one where they do the Godfather parody and their janitor outfits around the big like boardroom table, and they're doing the accents and impressions. Her Brando cheeks are nuts. Yeah, she's got the cotton balls in her mouth, so she's got like the big Brando cheeks. It's amazing, and it's so fun. And again, it's an unnecessary scene in the sense that it's like, does it drive forward any plot or anything? No, but it just makes you more solid in their friendship, and that fact that they can joke around. And it shows off their personality too, right? Yes. I mean, I think it doubles as the movie kind of winking towards these crime pictures, these masculine crime pictures, but also like it shows these women in their personalities. These women have definitely seen Godfather. Yeah. And it's like the seriousness of their situation. Like, the movie still takes all of this seriously, but they're still able to have some levity with these scenes where it's like, but they're still friends. We have to remember that this isn't just business for them, like we see so often in these other heist movies. This is about community and friendship as much as it is about getting the money from the banks. So
which is what makes it more harrowing when these kind of people get put in danger, because you care about that. Like when they do that second big heist sequence and they hit the sort of bigger bank and it starts to get a little bit more dangerous and kind of restless, and you get frightened for these characters, and also they get kind of bigger in terms of personality. That's the scene where Cleo, Jason, you were highlighting the fact that she walks past the sort of homeless man being arrested outside, but also that's where she rips through the bank wall in the SUV in the getaway car, which is like a huge stunt, and also connects directly to Coffee, because I didn't realize until I rewatched both of these, but Coffee also drives a car through a wall.
Right. Totally.
So this is just, there's some connective tissue here, and they get so kind of high on the adrenaline and the kind of the power and the money, and you get that shot of them so excitedly, just like girls on the hood of the car screaming in the pile of money, and the money falling from like the like bunk bed or whatever that they have like in the little sort of like warehouse headquarters that they have and everything like that. There's so many great details of like, it almost looks like these girls are having like a slumber party or something like that, but they're celebrating the fact that they just pulled off an actually pretty muscular heist sequence.
Yeah, their confidence just gets better and better. Like in that first heist sequence, when TT kind of chickens out and leaves and watches them, even when they get in, there is much less confidence. Like they have a little bit of miscommunication. They're stumbling here and there, but they're still able to do the job. And then with each heist sequence, they get a little bit better at it and have a little bit stronger of communication, know how to be assertive when they need to. They call upon, like when they see there's a certain customer, I think, that's about to take out a gun. And I think it might even be TT that points the gun at him and says, like,
they start figuring out her role should be posing like as one of the sort of like customers and just lying there with all the other people so she can pull the surprise, like, I'm actually armed down here and watching you.
Yeah. So I love the progression of that too. It feels like they kind of get stronger as friends and then better at heists almost because of that. I think there's also like a growing trust the more that they do it and the more that they are successful. So it's it's
they
really cool to watch.
They do a really good job, even just like, going to Dr. Dre to get to the gun range to get guns from him and being like, him actually, I thought there was going to be more tension in that moment because he lends them the guns, and you think that at a certain point it's going to be like, well, they can't pay him back, so he's going to come after them. And like, that would be the more typical situation there. But he actually likes them and also has solidarity with them. And when they lose the money, it's Luther steals it to go, as Jason put it, go and bang this like white prostitute essentially in like this shitty motel. And Dr. Dre kind of goes, damn, yeah, go get him, girls, go get the guns and the money back.
Dr. Dre, not a great actor, but it's all good.
But honestly, I will say I agree with you, but the moment he has later on when he's watching them on TV and watching what's happening to them on TV, I actually find that kind of sad.
When he was like, damn.
Those girls. I love those girls. Shitty that this is happening to them on live LA TV.
It also makes you like really, I love the thing that he does right before they cut to the scene where they interrogate Luther and eventually shoot him and everything. But like right before that, he's just like has this giant, I think it's a shotgun or something. It's actually kind of bizarre looking. And he just like cranks it and then shoots it, and then it cuts to that scene, and you just kind of know the implication of this next scene is going to be incredibly violent and confrontational. It's a cool little just cut before it goes into it. But this this scene, but like this is where you really see Cleo just like in complete power and control until the very moment where she's threatened. But this is where TT kind of steps up, which is the more unexpected.
TT is the one who ends up killing Luther in order to protect Cleo. And then Cleo gets that great moment, though, in the sort of witness lineup where she's being identified by the sort of white prostitute. And she like took her ID or something to be like, we know where you fucking live. And that little tap she does on her chest in the lineup being like, I know where you fucking live. And my girls are going to get you if you do anything here. And the fact that she just does not rat them out and lets them continue on their way.
That is womanhood, though. I will say, like it's not the movie. unlike Coffee, where there's no solidarity with the women. There is solidarity in that scene when she did the snitch. She is afraid, obviously, but also she's just like, she's like, Luther's a fucking asshole. So
it
like,
actually
whatever.
does.
Yeah.
It does seem like even before there is the threat, like before she does the thing on her chest, that she is really hesitating. I think the Cleo thing just solidifies that moment where she's like, I'm definitely not saying anything. But it does feel like she's hesitating and doesn't want to give anything to the cops, because the cops are even saying stuff like they're heavily pushing her to identify Cleo. Like they're already like, we know, or we want to know who it is, so we want to
because McKinley has a good idea that it is them throughout the entire movie, because he's just like, all of these women, I've ruined the lives of like 2 or 3 different black women in the projects this week. I wonder if all of these bank robberies are connected. Yeah, like
basically,
it's such so funny that is
like it's wild. You're such a piece of shit cop and have ruined so many lives that you're like,
and it's literally his lieutenant who's like, no, you can't tail those women because you've already ruined their lives and we don't need those headlines.
His lieutenant's also a black man, by the way, which I found so funny.
yeah. He's like, we're not opening up that can of worms. There's not a chance, man. And then
which is so funny because he's
himself.
right. It is them, and he ends up getting, I think, a fantastic confrontation with them when they get to that big final. Like, this does have like almost like a 30-minute long sort of chase and sort of manhunt sequence when they do the final robbery at the sort of downtown Federal, which is the one that Blair Underwood's character is the manager of. And Stoney ends up sort of calling him to meet her for lunch, so he's not in the building when she does it. And this time they rock what became kind of iconic image from the movie, them in sort of the overalls and the frosted masks, and the tension and the cross-cutting. And one of the few moments where they really emphasize the orchestral score by Christopher Young, who was like a horror composer. He did like Hellraiser and stuff. He gets to do the score for The Last Heist. And it works really well because that is the sort of the one you expect when you watch a heist movie. That's the gone wrong sequence of they break in, they look like they're about to get away with it, but they do get caught by McKinley, who makes an appeal to them to be like, and he does make an emotional appeal, which is sort of an interesting decision, where he goes, Stevie was enough. I really don't want to murder any of you. I know that I've already ruined your lives, and I really don't want to kill you. Yeah. But he, even though he, briefly thinks that, what's I think really powerful about this movie is he goes, systemically, that doesn't matter. There's a guy on your squad who's just going to start shooting at them, and when they look like they are going to put their guns down, it's one of like the cops, the LAPD guys, who just starts executing TT on the spot, which is what sends that into the entire chaotic set piece it becomes, where there's sparks and squibs and a manhunt like through the streets of LA, and incredible shots of like the helicopter chasing them down the street, and 2 helicopters on either side of like that LA tunnel as well, and just really, really beautifully shot action sequences. Yeah.
And this is also like, this is where it just gets, we were talking about when it gets completely devastating, and this is definitely where it begins. As soon as TT is shot, which, as we've established already, is kind of the more like, I don't know if she's more desperate, but it feels that way just because you see the connection to her son and him being taken away. So there's at least she seems like more of a raw nerve than everybody else. And so when she's also has this kind of innocence to her in the same way, this kind of sensitivity compared to the other 3 members, or friends, it's kind of like, it just feels like that much more impactful. Like it's like the heart of the group was kind of taken out. And they save the big slow motion squibs going off moment for her, right? Yes. Like that. It's brutal. And for it to be like after a moment of de-escalation, so you think that maybe there's some room to breathe or something like that. But the girls take their masks off and put their guns down entirely. Yeah, they're like, we don't want anyone to die. So at the very, like, we got caught. We didn't get away with it, whatever. And then for it to just be like, I don't even know if it's a full cop too. I think it's like a security guard. Might be like, one of the security guards. It doesn't matter either way, but it's like that almost makes it somehow more pathetic to me for some reason. But it's like, it's just so devastating. And then you have these moments of like, they're traveling and trying to get to the next getaway vehicle so that they can get into the tunnel. If you're speaking of heat, it's the most heat portion of the movie. Like, it does feel like that downtown robbery sequence, just like less with, maybe not, it's hard to say anyone can direct a sequence like that. Like Michael Mann, you don't
don't have like those abstract shots of like a cop car getting riddled with bullets or anything. This is the poppier version of something like that.
Yeah.
But it's so emotionally informed and such great character work that, you know, it really is fantastic. There's a moment in this that Jayson, you and I were texting about before we got on, but that bit when Cleo lets the other girls get out and she's like, I'm going to distract the cops while you run away. And
knowing she's going to die.
Yeah. But that brief moment where she's completely caught by this roadblock, time seems to stop. She lights a cigarette. Up Against the Wind by Laurie Perry hits on the soundtrack, and she just goes, I'm gonna drive into this fucking pile of cops and just let them fucking shoot at me, essentially. And just, you know, and seeing that sort of such a powerful moment for what she's willing to do for her friends and physically put her body on the line, and to, you know, have that broadcasted on TV and everything like that. It's just it's horrible.
And the like the sequence of events that she does too is pretty incredible. Like, one, to let your friends go and kind of know that you're at the very least going to get arrested, and probably not get any of that money, but you just have the love for them that you let them go. Then you play chicken with a helicopter. That's badass as hell.
That's crazy, actually.
And she wins. Hallie's like, no, thank you. Like, awesome shit. And
get out of Queen Latifah's way.
Yeah, and then she gets riddled with bullets. Like, it goes to the point where that car looks like that scene in The Godfather where I think it's James Caan that gets killed at like the border line or whatever, that toll booth.
Yeah,
and it just looks like bullet holes everywhere.
It's like a Bonnie and Clyde, like straight up.
Yeah, and they take a moment to go like, okay, this is what we watch Cleo die. We kind of have this moment of like just mourning or whatever, and they take the beat, and then she gets out again as if she's like supernatural or something, and then just starts shooting back and just kind of being like, fuck you,
Queen
like,
Latifah's so good.
Yeah, like I'm going out like with just guns blazing, and it's such a powerful moment, and a really, like, honestly, when she does eventually get shot and you have that shot of her like passing away and everything, it's really raw and just vulnerable, and she honestly doesn't even try to make that look like, you know, movie cool or anything. Like, she kind of just drops, and there is like a real sadness to it, and yeah, I think it's beautiful. And then, I mean, beautiful in the saddest way possible, but just that thing that she does for her friends, I think is so beautiful. And then,
that was the moment that Jayson texted me about, like, as he was watching the movie. He was just like, this is crazy.
Yeah. And then also the added detail of when the other two that got away, they like strip down so they get out of those the work clothes that they were doing for the heist, and then before they leave, they hug each other. Just those details, like, again, are what are so different from like the other heist movies that you see, where usually it's like a group of people, usually guys, getting together that are kind of disconnected and doing it for their own individual reasons. And just for them to be holding this bag of cash, losing two of their friends, and being like, I'm going to hug you and hope that I see you again, is just like, it really does kind of separate from other heist movies that I've seen in some way, just very personal way.
Yeah, I mean, I think I always think of Vivica turning it back to John C. McGinley and asking him, and she asks him like, "What is the procedure when you're being robbed?"
Oh God!
Yeah. Pointing the gun at his head too, because how stressed are you right now? You know,
right?
What a moment!
Right.
Oh, I forgot too. Like right when Cleo passes too, because they're documenting this all on the news, and her like muted girlfriend watches, and like. Like, you actually have a really devastating moment where, you know, she just starts to cry, and they it's like this, I don't know, there's a sadness to it, but just the way that he puts it, because it's a news anchor, where he's just like, this is the most tragic culmination of today's events. It's very just it's such a proper way of saying
for
this
like
is so
for like 10 or
devastating.
15 minutes it becomes just like a funeral movie. It's like TT goes down and they kiss her and leave her body there, and then Cleo goes down, and then obviously Frankie gets that moment where she gets to confront McKinley. But it's in this really well staged moment, I think, where Stoney ends up getting on the bus to Mexico, and she just gets on like a few steps earlier than Frankie, so she actually is about to get away, and the bus is very slowly pulling away from what is clearly her friend, having tons of cops point their gun at her, and McKinley being like, I've already killed two of your friends. I didn't want to kill any. I would really love to de-escalate this situation, but he can't, even though he tries to in that moment. And he does, hit that moment of Frankie basically telling you, like, what's the procedure now when you've got a gun to your head, and he watches her run away and get shot in the back as she's running. And that final moment is him seeing Stoney like in the bus and just going, I'm not going to tell the other cops about that. I'm just gonna,
that is I feel like that's such a powerful moment, because it doesn't take away any of the responsibility that he has of what he's done to these women and this community. But that moment, for it to be such a devastating thing and a culmination,
he's just self-aware enough to know that I have literally killed 3 black women and I don't feel great about it.
I think he's so exhausted at this point of like even his own actions and his own way of living and doing his job, that he's just like,
because he's like, even when I try to resist this and stop it from happening, it still happens because this is the way the system is built, right?
So he when he actually kills Stevie, which is Stoney's brother, like, he's like, a champagne bottle. He's just it's like, dude, you guys shot him like 10 times, fam.
It's like, that's what it's this. I think it's like his one desperate attempt to almost do something good so that he can feel slightly better, but it doesn't alleviate any of his sins, obviously.
Well, yeah, it comes too late for anything, right? Like, none of these girls, like he got 3 of these girls killed, but the way he sees it is he's just like, I'm not going to kill the 4th one.
Yeah, it's like at least one of them got let go, like due to my like total lack of really like what's amazing is that he comes off like he knows what he's doing, but if you look at the track record, the guy is not good at his job whatsoever. He just has confidence about it. So it's so devastatingly sad. And then you get these moments of Stoney like on the bus and traveling, and she's thinking about everything, thinking about the good times that they had, thinking about her brother, it's so devastating to watch it all. And then they kind of repeat these images of scenes that you've seen, but now you have the context of everybody is dead and she's left with nothing, and she can't even be with the guy that she kind of had a love with because he's connected to the bank that she robbed and the past life that she can no longer be a part of. And it's just like, it's heavy. It's really, really heavy. This is actually the first time I watched this movie, and I didn't expect. Yeah, it's kind of shocking, honestly. It's been on my list for so long, but I knew I was gonna love it. I just didn't know it was gonna be so harrowing by the end. Really.
It's a tough movie. I always remember why I don't watch it regularly. You know what I mean? Like, seriously. Like, as much as I watch, like, even The Heat, or all these different kinds of movies that I love of that era, this one is like really, really heavy. It's like systemic injustices over and over and over again that's really out of their control.
Yeah, it's reminding you of the reasons why these women are going to remain like poor, dead, or futureless in some capacity, right? Even if they're great people and they love each other and they're trying to help each other and make a difference. And it's a really, like, despite being put in a pop movie package and an exciting movie package, like, those ideas are just really grim to think about.
Yeah, and it does feel like, because she has to go like to Mexico and then she's got the money and she's had to let go of her past life, it feels like the only way to truly escape would be this kind of like rebirth in a way. Like it's like she cuts her hair, she cuts all her braids off. She's now traveling.
Do like that she calls Blair Underwood on the payphone, and it's a good payoff for the moment where he says, can I call you? And she goes, no, I'll call you. Yeah. So she gets that moment where she gets to call him at the end. So I thought that's kind of cute.
Yeah. And it's like that kind of,
and they try to leave you on the uplifting note of, yes, she's driving away into a beautiful, like, foreign landscape. She's got all this money. Hopefully she's going to go set up a life somewhere, but you are left with still those images of all of these times she had with her friends and how they're not alive anymore.
And for that to be the thing you had to do in order to get out of the system, like, what an extreme like few weeks or however long this was taking. So like,
it's not an easy movie to watch. I made the girl that I'm dating watch with me And she was like, "This shit is fucking sad."
Damn. You forgot about the ending.
I felt so fucking bad. I felt really bad. I was like, "Oh shit, yeah, this is really fucking sad. My bad."
Yeah, it's like I remembered it being about like
Heists
female
and
camaraderie
friends
and doing awesome shit in awesome cars and stuff.
I'm like, babe, you want to see women doing cool shit?
I just forgot to tell you that all of them die at the end. My bad.
But I suppose in a way, like, women also deserve their very feminine movie about fatalism and crime, just like we do.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally.
I mean, that's what it is. That is what feels like keeps the movie honest, and it doesn't feel like just a fantasy of the girls are going to topple over the system that easily. It's like, no, the system at the end of the day kind of wins, and that's what a lot of those noirs and crime films were about, right? So it makes sense that they got it. And yeah, I think this movie is fantastic. I think if we're pivoting towards reductive rating round, this one is a fairly easy to high 4 for me, to be honest. I do think that this is a really cool subversive spin on a typically macho genre that we've been talking about. I think that F. Gary Gray brings a lot of his sort of music video sensibility to it in a way that really does accentuate somehow also the like crime melodrama aspects of it, like the fact that it is a legitimately well fleshed out sort of outlaw morality tale of all of these women. You love every single one of them. You completely understand where they're coming from, their backstories that motivate them to do what it is that they do. And also, that he totally vividly realizes this sort of economic desperation and the sort of racist and these militarized streets that they're dealing with. And it's so sensitively attuned, I think, to the tragedy and anger and just kind of socio-political realities that each of these women are going through, but also just so stylishly directed in the sense that when the movie does give them this taste of power and the sort of popcorn genre excitement of letting women have fun inside this macho exciting genre, there is an excitement I think you feel as an audience where you're kind of like, yeah, it's the same as COFFY, and the same feeling you got from classic blaxploitation movies of these women fighting back against this unjust system is something that is cathartic to watch. And so though it's informed by these harrowing real world subjects at the intersection of class and race and gender, it's giving you that genre thrill of watching these black women assert themselves and the sisterhood and seize this violent control and fight back against the establishment. And the honesty of the movie is that despite you feeling that way and having that, it still goes, but there is still, the system is still bigger than them. And it does, at the end of the day, historically, has won, and these women are still going to be either poor or futureless in some capacity, despite all of their attempts to defy that. And so though the heist sequences, they aren't on necessarily Heat's level, there are very few heist movies that have sequences on Heat's level, and these are all very, very effectively done and so well motivated by the character work. So I had a really, really good time with this. It's so empathetic, it looks so good, it's so violent and loud, and Queen Latifah is amazing. All the women are amazing, but she's the one who blew me away when I first saw it.
I mean, I think in a just world, she's, I remember, Josh, you have a great post on Letterboxd where you say, in a just world, Creed wins Best Picture. And that's kind of how I feel about, seriously, but like, that's kind of how I feel about Set It Off in relation to Queen Latifah's performance. Like, in a just world, in a world where they take black, quote unquote, black movies as seriously as they take quote unquote white movies. Obviously, that's not a thing in my mind, in my heart, in our hearts.
Yeah, I was gonna say, who won Best Supporting Actress that year? Was she better than Queen Latifah?
Let's see, 1996 Best Supporting Actress.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Let's see. I'm actually incredibly curious.
Me too.
It is.
Also, it'll be for 97. It was Juliette Binoche in The English Patient.
Okay.
I haven't seen
it'll be
that.
for 97. Okay.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen it, therefore Queen Latifah should have won.
I did not know Juliette Binoche was in The English Patient. I didn't know
she fucking won, man.
Yeah.
Oh, do you know what? I didn't realize that Marianne Jean-Baptiste for Secrets and Lies, the Mike Lee film, was also nominated that year.
She probably should have won. Yeah, she's really good in that.
She probably should have won. But Queen Latifah should have been nominated.
Queen, I think Queen is just as good as Marianne Jean-Baptiste in Secrets and Lies. But
true.
But Yeah, but I'd be fine with MGB winning as well. I'd be fine, but or NJB rather. But yeah, I think I genuinely think like in a just world, like this movie is taken more seriously by institutions. It kind of shows how like far we have to go still. And
yeah,
like
when I first saw it, the way that I phrased it was that like I wanted to call it underrated, even though everyone seemed to like love it. So underrated wasn't really the word. But how is this not the most popular movie that F. Gary Gray made? How is this not like, crazy. How is this not when he comes up in conversations? How is this not the first movie out of your mouth, out of that person's mouth? Why are we talking about Fate of the Furious over this? I don't understand. It's so good.
This absolutely should be in like that, just the canon of great heist movies that everybody talks about. And it's like in this, I don't know if it's just because, when, guys go to watch the action heist movie, they just gear towards watching the dudes. But I feel like if anyone has not seen this somehow, it's like something they absolutely need to watch if you like heist movies. And I mean, hell, even movies about friendship. It's kind of incredible, again, how deep these characters are and how much time they take to make you care about the inner workings of their friendships. And it's just like it's truly incredible, and all the performances are amazing. Like I'm kind of even on like that strong 4, like maybe even Jamie 4 kind of thing, because it's just like that I have this feeling that I'll be going back to this over and over again and finding new things. And so it's just rich with detail and great direction. Like I think this is some of Gray's best work for sure.
Yeah. My God.
I love like the contrast with the emptiness of the complex, the very rich, like 5-story spiral staircase complex that they have that just feels so like sterile and overly clean and empty. And then you go to their neighborhood during the party and there's like 50 people in the front yard just having the best time they've ever had in their lives. And it's just, I love those kind of contrasts that he includes. All the crane shots, like when they're on the rooftop and they do a little spin to reveal the factory that they've been looking at the entire time and kind of like encouraging the conversation that they're having. There's just so many smart choices, and it's like the movie does still have that kind of like over the top macho confidence or whatever, but it's just, it has that softer look at their relationships and approach to how they're friends and how that kind of steers the way they do heists and things like that. So it's really unique. It's really its own thing entirely, even though it is still, referencing certain things like Godfather and Heat and everything else. It's just it does feel singular in its own way. And I think this is just fantastic. Highly recommend.
Yeah, I'm smacking a 4 on it as well. I watching it over this time, I think I wish it was like even more funnier. Like there are funny moments. I wish it was more like like Coffee's such a janky, funny film. I wish it had that a little bit more. It's definitely more serious than Coffee is. Totally. Which I love. I love a serious film, obviously, but I think that's my one biggest thing. But
it's definitely more of like an actual somber, more expensive studio movie, right?
It is very devastating by the end. That is a fair warning right there. Yeah.
But Jada Pinkett-Smith it's a great lead performance of Jada Pinkett-Smith. She's so good. Like just so good. It just really like talk about an underappreciated actress. She's always been so underappreciated, I think, her whole career.
Because she's so like in this movie especially, she has such a vulnerability because of what she's losing, and like she also like all of them have their own.
She always does. Like I even think about Collateral. You know what I mean? Like she always has such a vulnerability and strength at the same time, and they played the vulnerability and strength off of each other really well in her acting. She's great.
She had a crazy run too there, where she was in Demon Knight for Ernest R. Dickerson. She was in Menace to Society. Obviously, we talked about it on the first episode with you, Jason. She was awesome even in Bamboozled for Spike Lee.
Yeah, totally.
Like,
what
an actress.
She was. She's such a good actress. I mean, look, in Matrix, right? Like, Matrix.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I always forgot about the Matrix.
Yeah, she's great. She's the best. So, really, really just appreciated the whole film. Queen Latifah's great. Vivica's great. Like Vivica has such a vivacity to her, right? Like she's so intense.
They all have such great chemistry together and are so just unapologetically themselves while they do this like action movie stuff. It's just, it's what really sells the movie is these actresses and how, you know, it was, you know, for the studio and, you know, like it's not normally the kind of characters that would get greenlit for this kind of movie.
By the way, I wanted to point out 2 movies with black women. Roger Ebert loved both of these movies that we just talked about today. I just want to like, of course he did. The Swamp King. Of course he did. Yeah.
Him loving all of the cleavage in a Pam Grier movie is the least surprising thing.
Hold on. I think he actually says something hilarious in his review. Let's see. Well, that's like how we'll leave off. We'll talk about like Roger's little
horned up
reviews.
His horned up.
Well, Jamie, do you remember when we did, what was that movie with Demi Moore where she is sexually assaulting Michael Douglas in the workplace? Disclosure. Look up the opening to that review at some point, anyone who's listening. I think we mentioned it on the episode, but Ebert's review is talking about Demi Moore's Wonder Bra in the first sentence.
So first sentence is so what? The lead. That's so crazy.
It's the lead.
So about Pam Grier and Coffee, he goes, Grier was an actress of beautiful face and astonishing form, and that she
there you go,
and that she possessed a kind of physical life missing from many other attractive actresses.
That's so the classiest way to put that. Like, that's the best way he could have put that.
No, that was like early in his career too, so he's like not as wild. Like,
he was holding back.
Yeah.
Oh,
he's like, how do I smuggle this in?
So funny. But
wasn't he the one that also mentions like Scarlett Johansson's butt crack in the beginning of Lost in Translation?
Yes. I'm pretty sure.
Dude couldn't be stopped, man.
But yeah, I mean, 4 stars for me. I'm so grateful for me to be able to bring these movies on to you for you guys, and they're interesting films. They're really good. They really talk about something, but I also don't think they're too didactic. You know, my biggest thing about a lot of those, like Boys in the Hood, I think can be like really didactic. Or even the scene of Boys in the Hood where they're talking about HIV is so clearly like such a didactic scene. It's like John Singleton's like, oh, the NAACP told me I had to like talk about AIDS for like the black community in this. You know what I mean? Like all these different things, but. Set it off.
Yeah, they're social message movies, but like they're smuggled into popcorn movies at the same time.
Exactly. But Set It Off, I think, does a really good job of still staying really popcorny. And despite the fact that it is obviously about something, which is like, you know, thank God all movies should be about something. But I think they do such a good job in this movie. And so I'm a big fan. I'm so happy to have talked about it.
Yeah, thank you for bringing them on. I'm glad to finally have watched both of these. So.
Yeah, they're so good. But yeah, that is going to wrap it up, I think, for this week. That was Coffee, once again, from 1973, and Set It Off from 1996. Yeah, Jayson, thanks so much for bringing these films and for lending us your time and your voice. Where can the people find you? What are you up to these days? What do you got to tell people about?
I'll tell, the only thing I want the listeners to know is I have a Substack the Substack's my baby. I do a lot of stuff, you know, with magazines and I just did something with Playboy, but the Substack's my baby. So follow the Substack, type in my name on Google, type in Jayson Buford Substack, JaysonBuford, and just type in that on the Substack and follow it, because that's my baby. That's Absolutely. Where I really get. I actually once did a big thing about The Departed, and I ranked which characters in The Departed were the biggest Celtic fans. You know what I mean? So like that's where
it's the only place you're gonna get that content.
That's
you gotta go.
That. Yeah. So the Substack's my baby.
We can highly recommend. We will link to Jayson's Substack in the description of this episode. Please go check it out. Please go subscribe. Go support Jayson's writing. He is awesome. For our listeners, we're gonna be back in 1 week's time where we're going to be doing, as Jamie alluded to, your guys' patron voted episode. We're still in Noirvember, still talking crime movies. We're going to do a Kafka Noir episode that you guys voted for of Orson Welles' The Trial and Alex Proyas' Dark City. So once again, doing sort of like 60s crime film, doing a 90s one that obviously has the sort of sci-fi bent, the sort of Metropolis quality. And then in 2 weeks' time, we're going to be back with a special guest. where we're actually going to be talking about John Huston's At the Asphalt Jungle from 1950 with Sterling Hayden, and obviously with an appearance in that by Marilyn Monroe.
Cool.
And we're going to be pairing that with Fred Zinnemann's Act of Violence from 1949, which I have never seen, but I'm excited to hear about what that... We're going classic noir mode again, because enough people are going to yell at us. They're going to be like, you guys talked about a neo-noir and a 90s heist movie. That's not technically film noir. Well, we can do whatever we want on this show, but also
right. We own the power.
But also we're listening to you. We're going back to it, so don't worry about it. But yeah, that's going to wrap it up for this week. Thanks so much for listening, and as always, keep it sleazy.
Keep it sleazy, everybody.